Computer is about possibilities. It is an idea made real. Crafted with precision. It can make tradition timeless. Computer evolves. When allowed to be free, it can captivate you. Computer is our legacy, and we're keeping the legacy alive. Royal Selangor, since 1885.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to eRacing GP Global Edition Season 18. Brought to you, of course, by Axel, Sawi Expo, and Royal Selangor. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you missed out on what happened the last season, don't worry, we'll have a short recap for you just before we go into the race. But first, my name is Damon. I'm joined here by Victor. I think this is the first time we've ever casted together, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've not the first time we've worked together. Yeah, definitely had you quite a few times doing TGR, but this time in the hot seat together. So yeah, it's great to be back again.
Yeah, definitely. We did spend some time away. I spent some time away, but of course, I'm ready to jump in straight ahead. We're going to be having, of course, the four classes are racing today. 6 races in total. We have the copper class, the bronze class, and then the silver and gold will be on track together for a multi-class race.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hoot, and from what we can tell, there are a lot of drivers here for the season kickoff.
Yeah, a lot of new drivers. I mean, right, like we had to do pre-qualifying yet again for this season just because of the number of entries that we had coming into this. So it's going to be a pretty stacked grid. A lot of really new names as well. So really excited to see what they're going to be able to do on the track here. Of course, it being a new season means it's a complete reset. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of expectations, but also on my end, I'm just going to be curious to see what's going to happen in the next half hour or so.
Yeah. And so as I mentioned before, we're about to recap what happened during the last Global Edition. These are your class winners. Of course, from the Copper class, we have Fauzi from Malaysia. Bronze class, Ethan Lau, who's been driving for quite a while so far.
Yeah.
Made it to the top of Bronze class. And then in Silver and Gold, we have Iman Ryan from Brunei and Chester Lam from Hong Kong.
Yeah, so again, we're gonna see whether or not they're gonna try to, whether or not they're gonna be able to retain the championship again for this year, because it's gonna be completely different this time around. Now let's have a look at the team standings here. So far, it's been a very exemplary race here for the Malaysians. Pepega X Red Pack Asia eRacing team was the one who took the top of the standings for last season. Handshake Sim Racing quite close behind, although I say close, it's more than 100 points. Rather, especially when you consider the gap between themselves and M92 Motorsports, only about 40 points in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. We're about to see whether or not Pepega X Red Pack Asia eRacing team can hold on to their lead this season, or will we see some up-and-comers coming along to really shake the foundation and break the status quo, as we say. But yeah, the important thing is we're looking forward to some excellent racing, and Let's go over to the nation standings. Malaysia, of course, very much in the lead because of the amount of drivers that you have, and we have a bunch of substantial drivers. Philippines, very good, very close behind in second place. Indonesia also another 100 points now in the top 3, and then rounding out the top 9. Brunei, Hong Kong, Sri Lanka, United States, even Singapore and Australia. And this is going to be our calendar for this particular Global Edition season. Round 1, of course, we're going to be on the Shanghai International Circuit, where the drivers are currently practicing on. We haven't quite announced the 3 next circuits yet, but there are the dates down there. 31st October next week, 7th November the week after that, and then 14th November. It's going to be 4 weeks straight of just bumper-to-bumper action.
Indeed, and again, like it's gonna be, the tracks are usually announced like the week of the race itself, hence why it's gonna be kept a little bit of a mystery, at least for now. So that's the dates that we have for our season. Let's go ahead and have a look at what we're gonna be racing on this round itself. Shanghai International Circuit, 5.51 kilometers long, a clockwise circuit with 16 corners. It's gonna be rather packed, especially for this copper class race, which I believe had about 40 entrants after the pre-qualifying session. So like even you Darren, Damon, were quite curious about how we're going to be fitting everybody on this track at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Even the top level motorsports, they don't have more than like 20 to 21 cars on the grid, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they progress along, especially at the start when they're all just packed together like that.
Yeah, exactly. So again, just a recipe for chaos sometimes, especially at turn 1 of Shanghai itself. Here are the cars we're going to be using for this season here. Very familiar for all you guys who have returned from our previous global editions. We got the Le Mans Hypercar, the LMDH being used here for gold class, the LMP2s being used by the silver class, both of these brought to you by the Racing Rat. So for this season, we're going to be using the updated version, like the current version as it were, of this particular mod. For bronze class, it's going to be everybody's favorite BC RC GT3 cars. So they have a selection of all these different car models, but they are all balanced according to their performance. And last but not least, in the copper class, we've got the GT4 Porsche Cayman. This is the standard car that comes with Assetto Corsa itself. So definitely a very familiar type of vehicle for anyone who is in the copper class, especially those who are newcomers into the series, to go ahead and experience racing out here in Assetto Corsa.
Yeah, definitely. With the one make that the copper class has, it definitely brings up the level of competition, because all you have is your skill. The cars are all identical, so it's entirely up to you to bring yourself up to the front of the pack, and rest assured, this is a very big pack this time around.
Yeah, it is. And with the GT4s, being the same vehicle, so same class, basically means that the skill level of the driver is going to be the one that determines everything here. So now let's have a look at the recap of what happened in our last global edition here. Fauzi was the one who's a runaway leader in the standings pretty much by the end of our 4 rounds for GE17. So we'll see whether or not he'll be able to do the same thing again, although this time around he's probably going to have a lot more newer faces to contend with, especially inside this copper class, which is where a lot of our newcomers generally sign up and have to start off their little global edition career in, right?
Yeah, definitely. I do see a couple of familiar names here. We have Adrian Min, of course, and Aiden Yi. A lot of these drivers are pretty well established in the circle, but as you mentioned before, there can always be outliers, the new up-and-comers thinking they want to be able to really show what they can do, maybe even move up a class after the end. As you mentioned before, Fauzi did run away with a lot of races over the last season, but full reset, everyone's at 0 points.
Yep.
Let's see how it goes for them.
Exactly. That's exactly what I like about season openers, is that it's anybody's game pretty much. It's gonna have a look on how much they progress over the past seasons, but also for the newcomers into the championship, we're gonna see like how they actually stack up against our established drivers. So we're out on track right now. Qualifying is underway at this point. We got another 5 minutes of that session to contend with here, and we're already seeing sometimes being set on the board here. Currently in provisional pole position, Erza Colin still continuing to be on the top here for the copper class. Very good qualifying time here, and also, well, I wonder if that's actually intentional here because I remember this livery back during the endurance edition. I assumed it was a glitch, but seems that maybe they've embraced it or something because I do see like the sponsors popping up perfectly here.
Yeah, I think it's a very nice design, very sort of like techno, comes to mind or like a glitch as you mentioned before. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely one of the more stylish cars on the grid. And again, as we mentioned, there are a lot of the cars on the grid right now, which is why you can see quite a wild variance in the qualifying times. We have Ezra Collin in the 213s along with Nazif and Neil Harris here, and Usher and Zohaib. So a lot of 213s. So for now, we can really establish that the front of the pack is relatively close to each other. But again, you have to be mindful that this is a qualifying where all the cars are on track. So there are going to be opportunities, not opportunities per se, more like situations where you're just surrounded by traffic, don't have the line you want, don't get to carry the speed you want, and will set your time back a little bit, as you can see once we're into the 15th places and above.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see on the onboard here, Ezra Collin, you can already see how the traffic can sometimes run or to interfere in your own laps here. And given that it's still very early on in this session, everyone is still quite bunched up together, actually, especially up on that main straight. So Ezra now is already coming around towards the final bend now. So I can see a lot of cars in front of him, so he's going to be struggling a little bit to actually improve on that time there if he cannot find the space. Meantime, though, Darren Zufar, who actually was had the fastest time during practice, free practice earlier on, has gotten back onto the top of the board here. 212.528. That's actually 4/10 faster. Oh, sorry, 3/10 faster compared to Joshua Ivan Moliono, who's just set a second best time of the session. The second person to break under 2:13 so far.
Yeah, Darian had the luxury of running completely in clean air right now. You can see he's in front of that train, coming up to the car number 38 as of right now. But Joshua doing the best he can to catch up. Again, as you mentioned, ooh, here comes second one. Bima Surya, very, very close time. And in the middle of traffic as well. So definitely a lot of performance still to be extracted. With about 2 minutes left in qualifying, these cars probably only have about a lap and a half left. Of course, we're not counting the half. We don't count it unless they cross the line. But yeah, Ezra Collin from P1 all the way down to P5. Neil Harris here barely missing the sub 213 times, but good enough for P4.
Yeah, 6 milliseconds out from being able to break under the 212s, but that's a really nice competitive time here from Neil Harris. Generally I see for the top 15, or actually all the way down to the top 23 and even the 24, looks like if you're able to break under a 214, that's going to guarantee you to appear on our timing tower here somewhat. So at the very least, with what we counted earlier, about 35 or maybe 36 drivers, it's going to be really crowded, kind of like the top end of the grid as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and you can see here that despite all of them being within a second of each other, look how many cars are within that delta. So even if you're breaking into the 213s, if you're still not fast enough, you're still starting P20, which is absolutely insane to me, which means you have such a large amount of cars to get through. Of course, with how many cars on board, turn 1 of every race is going to be absolutely mental. So look forward to that. And as well as the fact that race 2 after this is going to be in reverse grid order. So whoever finishes P1 race 1 starts at the back to navigate 30-35 cars to make it back to the front.
Yeah, and to also clarify, I believe it's reverse grid for half of the grid.
Half the grid, so top 15. Yeah. All right, yeah.
So
it's been a while.
It's been a while. No worries about that. But yeah, that reverse grid can come in really handy, especially in this what do you call it, spec series races where all the cars are equal in terms of performance. So right now, this qualifying session is going to set the tone pretty much for the copper class right now, not just for this round alone, but potentially even the whole season itself. Now, Darren Zufar has decided to hit into the pits now, so that's going to so he's already pretty satisfied with the time he's done. I mean, means he actually improved on it
Yeah.
by another 0.2 of a second, pushing that bar all the way up to 212.381. So the checker flag is going to be out as the timer has already run out. We've got overtime still in play here for some of these drivers who have already crossed the line and are finishing off their laps at the moment. I think Oscar is still out on track here, as you can see. Bima as well. So two drivers with potential right now to actually try to fight for that pole position. But as far as the top 10 is concerned, I think Neil's already pretty much confirmed that he's going to be stopping in this top 6 position here or less, unless somebody behind him is going to be able to improve on the time, of which, like, Zohaib is actually really close in, only about give or take 9 milliseconds off of Neil Harris's own time. So looking at the deltas as well here, I don't see anyone having a massive gain in terms of time right now. Where exactly is Bima? Bima is still coming around towards the back straight here. So I'm going to be curious to see whether or not he'll be able to improve, because if he does find another 89 milliseconds on track here, he will be able to join Darren Zufar in that front row. So that will be exciting to see.
Yeah, definitely. But of course, we still have to wait until Oscar crosses the line and to see if Bima will be able to take the first of the 2 spots there. It's going to be a close one, I think. It's just going to be in a position where, for the start of the race, it's going to be relatively difficult to keep track of all these cars, especially those without custom liveries as well. But aside from that, already noticing how competitive it is, and you can see Bima Surya there. He is currently about to cross the start-finish straight here. Ooh, going on 2 wheels at the final corner there. He's about to cross the line. Let's see what the time he sets is. Ooh.
So last time around, he was behind Oscar. This time, he's going to be ahead of Oscar as he joins this front row together with Darian Zufar. Oscar, I think, is coming across the line as well. Is he going to be able to improve? I don't think so. Yes, remains in P3, so he loses out on a front row start. Nazif Zain jumps into the pits here, so he confirms his 4th place qualifying finish. And Jarrett Cole stopped on the side of the track. I think that's pretty much checkered flag for him as well, for 5th place on the grid. So we're going to be waiting for the rest of the drivers to finish up the laps. I think we only got like a couple more, if not just one more driver maybe. As it comes around the corner, nope, going to teleport into the pit. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, your provisional grid, or very likely our actual grid here. Darren Zufar taking pole position here is going to be starting this race here alongside Bima Surya.
And yeah, we're definitely looking forward to the race start. The important thing is, in terms of strategy, is whether or not the front runners can break away from the pack as soon as they can. Because the moment we go past turn 1, barring any wipeouts, hopefully there are none, but it's hard to tell with how many cars are on track right now. The important thing is you want to break away from the pack as soon as possible. You don't want to be stuck in traffic, because that just ends up slowing everyone down. So once you're away from the pack, pretty much you have free reign. Whole track is yours. You get to use whatever line you want, and as long as you can maintain that, you're in good hands.
Yeah, one of the trickiest things about Shanghai itself is actually the first couple of turns. The first turn in particular, because it's so long and it goes over a crest, it can be very tricky to try to keep your balance on your vehicle throughout all of that. And add to that, when you're jostling for position with 35 other cars at the same time, it's well, to put it lightly, a recipe for chaos pretty much at the start of every Shanghai race. Even when you talk about Grand Prix or touring cars, it's going to be a really interesting one to see.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, turn 1 into turn 2 goes blind right in the middle, so you really can't see your line. And if you mess up the exit on turn 2, turn 3 becomes a nightmare, and then turn 4 exit is even worse, which is bad because turn 4 leads into turn 5, which is basically a almost straight path about a kilometer before you reach the next hairpin. So if you're not able to break away, then you're just going to end up in a very troubling position for yourself.
Yeah, as the drivers now are going to be set up here, we're counting down to the start of the race here. Now the qualifying is over. The drivers will have a bit of time here to decide on their fuel strategy here. I mean, there's it's going to be a relatively short race compared to what we normally see from the endurance editions. So it's more of a sprint, if anything else here. And especially considering the reverse grid that will be applied for race number 2, a lot of these drivers will certainly want to be at least amongst the top 15 here, the top half of the grid, in order to ensure that we'll have a good starting position even for the second race itself. And of course, the guarantee of points is going to be a big factor here. Start of the season does mean that a lot of your positioning when it comes to the championship can be determined from this race itself. So that's double the importance of having a good start here.
Yeah, even more so because we only have 4 races a season. So every race counts. And you're definitely going to find yourself in a position where, like, if you're trailing in the back of the pack, it's not going to feel very good. If you're in front of the pack, it feels absolutely amazing. And then you're also considered for promotion to the next class if you end up top of the standings for your class. So, yeah, we're about to get into the race in just a second.
Yep. Just a little bit more, another 2-minute countdown here as we reset back onto the grid. I was also having a look at the times just now, and it's like a really interesting thing here. The top 15 are literally separated from the number 1 to number 15 by 1 second exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're not inside of that 212, rather inside of that 213, basically you're not inside the top 15 as far as qualifying is concerned.
Yeah, but qualifying is one thing, race pace is another. We're definitely just going to have to wait and see what happens. Of course, we're going to start over, cut over to the grid now. You can see Darian Zufar all the way in front, Bima Surya starting in P2. Still, brakes are still glowing somehow. And Oscar in P3, Nazif Zain in P4. We have Jared Ko in P5. Joshua Ivan Mulyono in P6. Ayrton Lau in 7th. Neil Harris in P8. Zohaib Hussein in P9. And rounding out the top 10, Ezra Collin, who, might I remind you, did end up setting the first benchmark lap before he just got gapped by everyone, and now he's in P10.
That's just how competitive qualifying can be here. And I mean, I'm super encouraged to see the times that we had on the board here, because it does mean that racing is going to be extremely close here amongst our front runners. That's going to be very exciting to see. So we're going to have a 15-minute race, 40 seconds until the start here. It's going to be a very exciting one, a season opener, as it were, for us here at the eRacing GP. And we're going to be seeing them take to the skies real soon. So having a look over on the top here, you can see just the amount of cars they have to contend with, especially when you're starting from 13th place. It's very, very far back and practically in the middle of the grid here. So you got cars around in the front, cars around in the back. The red lights are getting set up now. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started with actual racing here. So here we go. Darren Zufar in the front row here. Let's see whether or not he'll be able to get a good start. It's a bad start going on here with Jared Cole, unfortunately, and Joshua Mulyono as he falls all the way back. Darren Zufar will be able to hold out in front of Bima just nicely. We'll be able to take the inside going to that first turn. I think Oscar is getting a little bit on the wider line here. I think he wants to be able to fight Jared going into turn 2. But for now, Darren Zufar leads ahead of Bima going into the next turn. Jared Cole, in the meantime, getting pushed on the inside by Oscar. Oscar does have a good run out of turn number 2. Should be able to take the position away from Jarek going into turn 4.
Yeah, and a very clean turn 1 affair from everybody here in the Copper class. Of course, we didn't see the back there, but based on the track map, everyone made it completely fine.
Yep.
So absolutely amazing driving from everybody here. Darian Zufa made it, cleared the pack. Bima Surya not that far behind, about 3/10, and Jericho another 1 second behind that. You can see how important it is that you break away, because the moment you get a turn 4 exit into the big straight, into turn 5, that's really when most of the gap for the starting of the race is going to end up. And you can see paid dividends for them. Being stuck in traffic is definitely something you don't want to be happen to you. As you can see there, Ezra Collin is missing.
Yeah, I think he might have actually ended up some contact. Like, you did mention earlier that it looked like it was clean, but that was mostly for the front. I think the back end of this starting grid actually ended up a little bit more chaotic. In the meantime, a move here from Muhammad Fatur Rahman trying to get onto the inside, or rather now on the outside of Robert Apino. He's already taken care of Xavier K, although he hasn't quite closed the door on that. So Xavier should be able to continue fighting alongside. A bit of a bump on the side as well for good measure as Muhammad Fatur Rahman falls back into his original position in P9.
Yeah, so couple of prime overtaking spots here is going to be the first 4 turns of the lap. And this particular back straight. And you
Yeah.
can see that Xavier managed to squeeze in the draft from the car in front of him while Faturaman ended up getting pushed aside. So he wasn't in the full draft, didn't really get the full benefit of it. And coming out of the exit there, you really want to be able to make your speed count because it's such a long straight. And then you'd end up having to contest braking once you're at the end. So if you manage to stay in front of the car in front of you after that long straight, it's definitely going to be easier for you to really close the door on whoever you're racing against.
Yeah, we got 3 battles actually taking place on track right now. The closest is between these two, Wirasak as well as Xavier, who is actually able to pull just ahead in turn number 1. Wirasak is going to have to tuck in behind, but keeps blocking Mohammad Faturrahman just behind him in P10. So that keeps it nice and tidy going into turn number 2. Joshua and Oscar were also locked in their own little battle going to the turn 1, although it didn't quite come to blows in that regard. So let's see how it is for those who are outside of the top 15 as Leon Jensen Dunn is looking to try to make a challenge onto Ashir Shakur to try to make his way up into the top 15. Actually gets a good line on the inside here. Usher gonna have the space though because he is sufficiently alongside Leon through that corner. He's going to try to fight him in this longer and a much faster left-hand bend, and he does actually get a gain onto Leon Jensen-Tan, keeps him back in position here, but Dodo Prasetea, who's just behind the two of them, is smelling some blood in the air.
Yeah, Leon there, we did not see that he did go a bit wide on some of the corners, really sacrificed his corner exit to try and pull alongside the car in front of him, Asher there. Ends up really paying for it a little bit. And here we have Seth Martin in P12 fighting against Shazan here. It's going to be really difficult because all things considered, this is quite a narrow track. So every race counts, and the lines you end up taking when you're on the back foot versus when you're in the lead of the car in front of you is going to be wildly different. And we have to see how their plan of attack is from the back here. Ertelao pulling alongside Oscar here, trying to see if he can make a move on the outside. Not able to outbrake him, but Oscar might end up taking a wider line, giving Ayrton space to make it through. Ooh, just not making it.
Yeah, just a bit of a touch there, slowing him down as he comes out the exit. In the meantime, just in front of them, Joshua Ivan is putting a lot of pressure onto Jerry Core, getting onto the main straight, goes so wide off of the track and off of the curbs there just to stay on his slipstream here. Now going for an outside move, actually going to turn 1, so he can already see he's trying to set up. No, he just feints it, taking the inside, putting his elbows out, forcing Jerry Core out of the track and stays on the racing line.
Yeah, the feint was a good idea. Unfortunately, Jarek didn't quite respond the way Joshua was expecting him to. Ended up punting himself off. No one's at fault there. That was definitely just a move that ended up how it is. Yeah. But Jarek still managing to hold on to that P4. Going wide there didn't really cost him anything aside from a gap between him and Oscar. It was quite a substantial gap before. Now it's a little bit narrower. Here comes Ertelao. Ooh, late on the brakes there. You can see the brakes are growing, and he ends up wide into turn 5 there, losing quite a lot of speed on the exit.
Yeah, he's going to have to tuck in behind. So I think out of that battle between Joshua and Jarek, it's ended up Jarek now having to join this little battle going on for P4, P5. But essentially will be a bit of a lifeline actually to Oscar, so because he's going to be able to give the tow for him getting onto the back straight. In the meantime, Javier trying to go around the outside of Wirasak right now. Couldn't quite find the exit though, as Wirasak will be able to close the racing line for him there, as Mohammad Fatur Rahman continues to chase in behind. He's been behind him for the longest of times now in the last few laps. As Xavier still struggling right now to try to find a way past. Wirasak still able to pull an impressive defensive drive, although he's now sitting 4.3 seconds behind Aitan Lau. So it's actually slowing down both Xavier as well as Mohammad Fatur Rahman.
Yeah, and that gives room for the cars at the back here. So hey, coming alongside this train, so it's going to be close to becoming a 4-car battle here as they end the back straight. Xavier swerving there, trying to see if he can find an opportunity. Ooh, breaks a bit later. See if he can take the outside line and dive in. No, the break was too late. He ends up going wide and then boggling the exit, giving Fatur Rahman even more of a chance to catch up. But then gets slowed down by Xavier coming out the exit there. And we're basically back at square one here.
Yeah, still Wirasat continues to stay ahead, but then as Roman Farhan gets a good run up now against Xavier, is Xavier going to be able to defend? No, not quite. He's already sufficiently alongside now, so his best bet here is to stay on the back of Wirasat targeting the goal and just hope he doesn't block him going into turn one. He tries to outbreak him here. Muhammad Farhan tries to follow along as well, gives him a bit of a bump and actually forces him a little bit wide, allowing Wirasat to continue to stay behind and actually cut the two of them coming up. But look at that, someone else is also joining into the race here as Zohai actually gets himself into a mix here with Muhammad Fatur Rahman, gets behind Xavier Ku and actually stays ahead of Muhammad Fatur Rahman through turn number 2.
Yeah, now we have 5 cars in position, in contention for this spot here for P7, and it is absolutely electric here. Fatur Rahman going wide there. I see some smoke. I think that is Wirasat going quite wide there, messing up the exit and then losing basically 3 positions immediately. So Zohaib Hussain moving up to P9, Fatur Rahman in P8, Xavier, the clear winner out of all of it, into P7. But here comes Wirasat. He's not going to give up that position so easily. Back up to P9, passing Zohaib, and what an amazing encounter. Oh, Zohaib Hussain tries to make a dive on the inside, but Wirasat closes the door on him, doesn't make that move happen, and wow, absolutely electric performance for now. We're in the class where people are just getting started. They're slowly developing their racecraft, their race discipline. Yogi Masaki making a move there. As I just talked about race discipline, he goes quite bravely into that corner that uses Shazan as a bit of a break, but ends up still not being able to make that pass.
Hey, sometimes, you know, when you got another car in front of you and you just that little bit faster, yeah, you just use them a little bit to slow down your own momentum. Why don't you?
In the words of Ayrton Senna, if you go for a gap that no longer that doesn't exist. Oh,
that's right.
If you don't go for a gap that exists, you're not a racing driver.
That's why I usually used to prefer the shorter version. If gap, car. Anyways, yeah, there's absolute battle royale going on right now inside the top 15, or rather the back end of the top 15. At one point, it was 6 cars jostling for the same position here. Wirasat, of course, lost out to both Xavier K as well as Muhammad Fatur Rahman, but his race is still not over yet because he's getting a good run up against Muhammad Fatur Rahman now. Tries to go around the outside of turn 1, couldn't quite get it under braking, but maybe he can try to get it on the exit, especially after the crest. No, he gets a little bump with Fatur Rahman. Fatur Rahman countersteers perfectly and stays on track. Impressive save there from Muhammad Fatur Rahman, but he unfortunately still will have to concede the place here to Wirasat.
Yeah, Fatur Rahman is probably not going to be too happy with that move, so he's going to try and look for an opportunity. But bearing in mind, we only have 5 minutes left here in race 1, so if you're going to try to make a move, you better do it within that time. Otherwise, you're never going to have that chance again. Here comes Seth Martin coming here to Yogi Masaji here. Ooh, Yogi going a bit wide on that corner, giving Seth Martin the nice run up to pull alongside just barely, but he's going to end up having the outside line for the next corner. Let's see if he'll be able to make it stick. Yogi, ooh, bit squirrely on the braking there. Still being able to keep ahead of Seth Martin here, and that immediately is the end of that attack. But we know for a fact that none of these drivers are ever going to give up their position. If they want to finish ahead, they're going to have to do their best. As you can see here, Fatur Rahman about half a second down on Wirasat. He is going to try and make a move as they're coming alongside up to the back straight here, in fact. So within the toe, probably has a pretty good opportunity.
Yeah, the slipstream, in fact, is really strong actually out here in Shanghai. One, because of the design of the track, but two, how extremely long that back straight is, and also how you get into it with a slightly banked corner leading into that, so allowing you to maximize your exits coming out and maximize your top speed by the time you get to the end of that back straight itself. Seth Myers, I think, is having another look onto the inside of Yogi. Yep, is going to be on the on a really good position here to try to fight. Look at that. Getting himself wheel to wheel now. You know, he has the inside, just trying to keep it as tight as possible. Under braking, he does outbrake Yogi and will be able to take 12 position as long as he can block him out. And yes, he does block him out in the hairpin corner.
Amazing braking there from Seth Martin here. Just enough to keep him slowed down enough for that corner. Ooh, Wirasat going quite wide there. Fatur Rahman might see an opportunity as they're coming up to the start-finish straight now. Again, in the toe, we'll have to see if he'll be able to make up enough speed to pull alongside. You can see flashing his lights there. He's letting Wirasat know, I'm coming for that position again. Ooh, very close. Ooh, a bit overzealous on the initial attack into turn 1, so ends up having to slow himself down a bit more. But the exit out of turn 4 is all that matters here. If you make a good exit, you could find yourself in a pretty good position. But Xavier, who holding the middle of the track there, slowed down a bit, slowed Wirasa down quite substantially, having to go wide, and immediately the exit from both Wirasa and Faturrahman.
Yeah, I think the braking was a lot more difficult for Muhammad Farhan because Wirasa at the same time was reacting to Xavier Ku. Seems to be a bit slow going out of turn number 2 there, and that's allowing Wirasa now to come within touching distance of him, although he just left it a little bit wide there. Muhammad Faturrahman pounces on the opportunity, taking the position of Wirasa and now putting the pressure on Xavier Ku instead.
Yeah, and it's as you mentioned before, pressure is going to be so important for these drivers to be able to maintain that pressure. You can see Xavier, who might be breaking a little bit from the pressure of the 2 cars behind him. Faturrahman doing a pretty good job of taking advantage of that. Here comes Wirasa on the entry again. Little bit of a bumper tap there. Slows himself down, but Faturrahman almost lost it there. But keeps it in position, keeps it straight and true. And Zohaib is now going to try and see if he can try and take that position back.
Yeah, it's actually now back brought into play here thanks to that little contact between Muhammad Faturrahman and Wirasa Tandevong. So we got 2 minutes left in this race here, so I think a lot of drivers have already used up quite a bit of performance on their tires. So expect at this point now, it's a matter of seeing who actually saved up the tires enough for this final minute of battling. And in that regard here, I think Wirasa might be in a bit of trouble because he had to defend against a lot of contenders here, and unfortunately has lost out to both of them and now continues to face even more challenges with a couple of newcomers on the back there. Oh, Zohaib goes onto the inside of Wirasa just as I switch cameras here, but Wirasa continues to get a good exit, stays ahead of Zohaib for now.
Yeah, it's quite difficult when you want to end up taking a really tight spot, as Wirasa just goes. That corner is probably like the widest thing he's ever had to navigate, circumnavigate, but it loses quite a bit of time there. So he was Hussein going to see if he can close that gap. Less than a tenth of a second separated. Faturrahman makes a move onto Xavier here. On to turn 1. It's quite blind on the exit there. Ooh, Xavier a little bit squirrely on the loose, but holding the middle of the line to stop Faturrahman from really taking that exit nicely. Faturrahman here, not perturbed at all, trying to see if he can clear the exit at turn 4, going to turn 5. He's not close enough to really make a move into turn 5, but that toe is still going to be pretty useful for him as Shazan here, pulling onto the back of Zohaib Hussein. I wonder what happened there. Zohaib Hussein was right on the bumper of Wirasa there, and then lost a lot of time. And then he goes wide here as well. Yeah. So here comes Shazan. Ooh, managing to hold that line just barely, but this close on the back straight, very scary.
Yeah, very scary when you're getting alongside here in a very fast part of the track, but still good on them from not coming to blows in that particular instance. And Muhammad Faturrahman continues to keep the pressure going to Xavier Ku. He's been battling with him and Wirasa for the majority of this race here, I have to say. So it's great to see that he's still continuing to fight it out here for a possible P7. In the meantime, in the front of the grid here, Darren Zufar has been leading through and has stayed basically a second ahead of Bima Surya the whole time, actually. So has been pretty much a very uneventful race, although right now we're seeing a battle start to form now for the final podium position here, as the final lap has been called already. Jerry Cole is going to try to go around the outside of Joshua. Couldn't quite, or rather he's going to be able to do it under braking. Couldn't quite do it that time though. And under exit as well, gets blocked by Joshua Muliano, who's just steadily defending against this very important podium position here, as Darren Zufar now comes across the line, takes the checkered flag here to win race 1. Birma Surya comes in second place, and Joshua Ivan Muliano, by the skin of his teeth, takes third position away from Jerry Cole by just 1/10 of a second. Oscar Monty Vinci Chenchai will be able to take 5th place. Aitan Lau makes it into 7th. Javier Ku stays ahead of Muhammad Faturrahman after a long and protracted battle between him, Muhammad, as well as Wirasa, who confirms his 9th position finish. And Shazan now from Mizal rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, he actually made it in front of Zohaib right at the very end there, so good on him. Darian and Bima, top class racing from both of them. Basically, both of them were just helping each other to clear the pack and end up in that top 2 spot. So amazing driving from both of them. Good qualifying, good race pace. Although it is going to be race 2 reverse grid.
And
How will they do in P15 and P14?
I mean, given like the level of fighting between like what we saw from P7 all the way down to P15, I think it's going to be very close. It's not going to be that easy, I think, from any one of them to break out of the pack necessarily. I'm more curious to see how Darien will actually do when he starts from the middle of the grid instead. We know that he's the fastest person on this session here based on qualifying performance, but that's only by margins of a tenth of a second or 2/10 of a second compared to everyone else around him. So
Yep.
I think he's by far going to have the biggest challenge right now. I mean, he's already taken the race 1 win. That's already going to be a decent haul of points. But to be able to gain points in race number 2, I think is going to prove to be the bigger challenge here for Darren Zufar.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers, I think what you really want is the Grand Slam. Fastest qualifying, fastest lap, top finish in both races.
Yep.
And you basically just end up shutting each other out, shutting everyone else out of the race for the top spot there. Race 1, very important to really establish your position in the rankings here. And we're coming up to race 2. As you mentioned before, he's very good when he's ahead. So starting in P15, going to be a different set of challenges. But on the flip side, it's going to be a different set of challenges as well for the cars who ended up P10 to P15, because they're going to be starting in front of the grid. So will they be able to hold on to that lead?
Yeah, and knowing that they've already had a lot of racing being done here in race number 1, they're definitely feeling hot-blooded coming into turn 1 of race number 2. So a little bit of a warm-up, or I suppose, rather a heat-up going into the competition here for race number 2. Again, points are distributed for both race 1 as well as race 2. That's why the finishing position of your driver in both of these races are super important, especially in this opener. So with that, copper race 1 already done and dusted. We're waiting for the final countdown now, so we can proceed now to race number 2. And there we go, just right on cue. 1.5 minutes reprieve right now for copper class drivers to get themselves set up for race 2.
Yeah, take this time, really take a deep breath, reset your mental. If you end up in a pretty unflattering position, or you ended up having a pretty bad race overall, this is the time you get to basically clear your head, make sure you put all your focus into this race, and hopefully end up finishing well. But of course, it's not just you. It's like 35 other drivers on the grid, so all of them are going to have to be doing the same thing as well. And we only have 15 slots for points.
Yeah, so again, you really have to make yourself all the way up beyond the halfway point of the grid here, pretty much, if you want to finish inside the points. And that's not to mention like the battle for getting on the podium itself. It's even tighter in that regard. So yeah, a lot to contend with, and especially with cars being very similar in performance here, it's very difficult to break from the pack, as you said, Damien, during the start of these kind of races here.
Yeah, we're about to see the cars go onto the grid for race 2 again, reverse grid order. So we're going to see Darien Zufar and Bima Surya starting in P15 and P14 respectively. On the flip side, we have Asher and Dodo going to be in P1 and P2. Now, we've seen, well, pretty much the whole race, all we've seen is the battle for P7, right? Like, we basically completely missed out on what could have been in the other parts, because the racing in the mid-pack was so hectic.
Yeah, so it looks like it's the top 10 of the grid that's going to be reversed here. So that means Shazwan now from Nizal.
All right.
Is going to be one starting on the front row together with Wirasat Tantevong, and right behind him, Mama Patu Rahman as well as Xavier Ko are going to be starting in the same row alongside. So I think for Wirasat, it's going to be like, here we go again.
Yeah, and we already know that tensions were quite heating up during their first race. That 15 minutes that felt probably like the longest 15 minutes you've ever had, just jostling for the same spot. You have Fatrama, Wirasa, and Xavier all basically locked in the 3-car battle for the entire race. So,
and I mean, and again, like, it's so fortuitous, right,
Yeah.
for Shazan to actually finish ahead of Zohaib, because now he's got 10 cars between him and Zohaib at the start of this race here. So fantastic that he was able to eke it into the top 10 just in the nick of time here, so he can enjoy this front row start. But again, with 3 drivers who already came to blows in the previous race here, Shazan is just he needs to get this get off the line perfect here, so he can avoid any kind of chaos should Wirasak or Muhammad or Xavier decide to actually fight their way going to turn 2.
Yeah, good launch. You just have to make sure you stay out of turn 1, stay ahead of the pack, and let everyone else decide who gets to P2. And we're not discounting all the other drivers as well. As here come the lights coming on with the gantry. We just got a little bit left here. 6 red lights waiting for all of them to light up. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, with bated breath.
And
lights go off.
Go time now.
Nice.
Shazwan gets a good launch. That is exactly what he needed here. As Wirasak now has a block up. Muhammad Fatur Rahman is a run up into turn 1. It's going to be a bit of jostling as well as Javier Ku actually goes in between and ping pongs around and drops down the order, or rather drops down the time here. Struggling a little bit to keep him together going through turn 1. It's not over yet. Now it's only going into turn 2. And he just barely blocks out Aitan Lau and stays in P5.
Yeah, so I think what had happened there was that Xavier was so used to braking at high speed for turn 1 that he completely misjudged how much he had to brake from a standing start. And that's why he ended up almost running into the back of Fatur Rahman there. A little bit squirrely on the exit to turn 2, but he managed to keep it under control. Here comes Darius Zufar making his way up the pack, up to P8 now from his starting position of P10. Where is Bima Surya just ahead of him as well. So now these 2 drivers, our last race winners, are slowly making their way up the pack.
Yeah, slowly. And, well, it's already a really good start, actually, for Darren Zufar, because he's already got 2 cars down. Now he's got another 8 more to go here. But unfortunately, Bima Surya is already pulling away and actually getting to blows here with Jarek Cole as well. Gets onto the inside and forces Jarek to take onto the curbs here, allowing him to slip by into P6. So already making progress, and already into the wall. There goes Jarek Cole. Falls down the order here and is out of the top 15 as more cars crowd around him. He's going to have to stay out of trouble there as more cars are attempting to get side by side here. Leon Jensen Tan in the meantime getting on the inside. Joshua now having to take around the outside here, but Yogi is also behind the 2 pink cars now, trying to get the draft, or rather trying to get a good run up here against Joshua and Leon. Unfortunately, we'll still have to tuck him behind.
And you can already see the emotions and the tensions from last race bringing to bear, flaring up here in race 2. So much more action from the first half of the course right now as Seth Martin tries to make a move here on Zohair, makes it on the inside, but breaks way too late. Goes completely wide there. He was brave, but miscalculated the entry there. Ends up sacrificing a lot more than just his position.
Yeah, and Neil Harris in the meantime also getting into the mix. He's trying to get his way into the top 10. I think Zoe has gone way too wide that time around, though. Seth Myers will be able to stay along. Neil Harris will be able to get alongside him and actually passes Zohaib now for 10th position. Needs to be able to close the door on him into turn 1 to keep it. And yes, he does close that door. In the meantime, Xavier Ku has seemed to recover pretty well. Stays good. Actually moves up into P4 here. Right back in the position where he started the race with, having overtaken Aitan Lau in that regard. Muhammad Fatur Rahman in the meantime not able to make the gain against Wirasak, who is already pulling about a second ahead now and starting to put a bit of pressure onto Shazan, who he finished ahead of in race number 1.
Yeah, Wirasak is really taking advantage of the fact that Fatur Rahman and Xavier are absolutely coming to blows with one another, slowing both of them down, which gives him the opportunity to catch up to Shazan. Here comes Darren Zufar, though, making it up past Oscar into P7. Really nice overtake on the outside. We'll see if he manages to hold that position right into the next corner. Has the inside track this time, but ends up going a bit wide. It's Oscar coming back to take that position. And then again, switching back, still getting inside line, goes up on 2 wheels there. Scrubs off quite a lot of speed and ends up almost losing it. Kept it there, but scrubbed off too much speed. Ends up losing 2 positions to his counterpart from the last race. So we are jumping up to B5, and he goes for a love tap there onto Oscar to take that position back. Neil Harris seizes the opportunity, goes up to P9 here. Darren Zufar, man on a mission here, but just has to keep it steady.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a lot of love in that tap there, to be fair, as Darren Zufar really was just muscling his way through there to stay ahead of Oscar Mayer throughout the whole time here, as Aitan Lau now tries to regain his position of P5 here from Bima Surya, who's already made his way up impressively from P9 all the way to here. Gets himself very close, actually. Javier Ku almost hooks him onto the inside, but unfortunately has to tuck him behind on the exit here. Xavier Ku still remains in P4 for now, but with Bima Surya just breathing down his neck here, it is looking like he's going to have to play a lot more defense rather than the offense that he will love to have here in race 2.
Yeah, and we've noticed from the last race that Xavier, he's got a little bit of a few tendencies. Like you can see that he's just getting quite pressured, especially in the mid corner between the entry and the exit there. You can see he's just making adjustments, but they're not really good adjustments. He's trying to make sure he has a good exit, but sometimes in the mid corner, which is where a lot of moves end up happening, you just end up sort of like boxing out the car behind you that's trying to make a move on you. The important thing is that you have to be predictable, but I think Xavier is still doing a pretty good job at holding that spot there. Bima Surya is still trying to make that move happen, around 2/10 behind Xavier here.
Yeah, and we were starting in the meantime has already caught up to Shazwan in the first sector itself, is looking to try to have a peek. He almost had a peek going out of turn 3 just now, but decides against it. This time he's continuing to stay behind him through this really fast section. I think the next back straight that's coming up soon is going to be a huge battleground between the two of them, as Xavier K as well as Bima Surya continue to come to blows, as they haven't even got the run up into the back straight yet, and already to try to fight into position. Rirasan almost had a peak there. Bima Surya also trying to do the same against Xavier Ku at the same time. This is a really tight fights right now inside of the top 5. Rirasak against Shazan, Bima Surya against Xavier Ku, and Muhammad Fatur Rahman just trying to survive in between both of these battles here. And he might have an opportunity coming up here, as Rirasak is a little bit slow on this back straight.
Yeah, again, Fatur Rahman flashing his lights there, letting Wirasa know, hey, I'm back again for the second race in a row, and I'm going to try and see if I can make a move on you. Shazan here is going to be holding them up just a little bit, making it a bit more competitive for each other. Here comes Bima Surya, made it past Xavier Hugo, but he's going squirrely on the exit there, scrubs off a lot of speed. Xavier, he's going to have to see if he can make this count as they're coming into the start-finish straight. He's on the outside, unfortunately, won't have the best exit coming out of that turn, and Bima Surya holds on the position. Oh, there is Zufar!
Almost getting hooked on the inside by Joshua Ivan Moliono as he attempts to pass around the outside. That's really lost him a bit of time, as Neil Harris has already pulled ahead of him now going into turn 1. Darian Zufar still not quite out of the woods yet. He's still alongside Joshua Moliono. Has the inside of turn 1, but needs to deal with the transition point coming up here into turn 2, to stay ahead of Joshua. Can he do it though? It's Oscar Morton is coming up just behind him as well, trying to fight for that same position, and Joshua unfortunately does get ahead of Joshua Ivan coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, great race, great overtake there, managing to hold that position. But here comes the battle again for the top 3. It feels like we've been glued onto these 2 cars for both races now, but absolutely for good reason, as they're into some of the most heated battles we have in the Copper class for race 1 even. And Zohaib Hossein here, seeing if he can make it past Joshua Ivan. Jericho here in P15, making it all, trying to make it past Surya here. Jarek really hasn't had the best 2 races so far, but he's making the most of it, and that's quite important. Fatur Rahman here trying to go on the inside there as they're coming in. Ooh, has to lose a lot of speed there. He didn't have the exit he wanted, but here comes Wirasa going wide, going a bit tail happy near the end there, giving Fatur Rahman opportunity to gain some speed and make it past him as they're about to enter the back straight, but Fatur Rahman overbrakes too late. And over there, Wirasa takes away the position again. But here comes Bima Surya taking advantage of the small mistakes that both cars have made, seizing P2 from right underneath their noses into the back straight.
Through goes Bima Surya into P2 as Wirasa and Muhammad Fatur Rahman continue to come to blows together. Darren Zufar, in the meantime, he got passed by Oscar Myers. The 2 of them were locked in battle just moments ago. Fatur Rahman continues to fight behind, or rather alongside Bima Surya, now trying to jostle for that second position. But Bima does have the inside. He does have the apex. Leaves Muhammad Fatur Rahman on the outside as Wirasa comes back and retakes P2. P3.
So we're back in exactly the same spot, except now Bima Surya is somehow ahead of these two cars. So absolutely stellar performance here from Bima Surya, jumping up from P9 to P2. Stellar performance so far, but we'll have to see if he'll be able to hold it. Shazan is about 1.7 seconds clear of the battle behind him. Meanwhile, rounding out the top 10, there is Zufar, back where he started basically. A couple of mistakes ended up putting him back behind Joshua Ivan Mulyono and Oscar here. With the other two, Irasa going a bit heavy-handed there on to T3.
Yeah, it's got to keep it tidy now coming out of turn 2. In the meantime, just behind him, Aitan Lau now tries to go around the outside. Couldn't quite find a momentum, though, against Xavier Ku, who has a way better exit here. Joshua Mulyono continues to be stuck behind Darian Zufar, who conversely has not been able, has lost a lot of the gains he made at the midpoint of race 2 here and is stuck in P19. Muhammad Fatur Rahman not quite done yet with Wirasak, continues to stay inside his slipstream now, going into the fast section here. Not quite able to get alongside in this instance though, and Shazan definitely is going to be breathing a sigh of relief at this point, because all the jostling, all the fighting as Wirasak was closing in onto him has now allowed him to open up a 1 second gap here to Bima Surya.
Yeah, but he won't be breathing that sigh of relief for long, as Bima Surya has been steadily narrowing that gap. It was 1.7 seconds at the start of the lap. Now it's down to just over a second, just under a second as a matter of fact, as they're coming into the back straight right now. He'll probably be close enough to end up with a tow once they hit the start-finish straight. But meanwhile, the battle here between Xavier, Faturama, and Wirasa is never ending here. Wirasa having a slight advantage over the two drivers ahead of him, but we'll have to see whether or not he'll be able to keep it, as now Ayrton Lau is going to be a part of this battle as well.
Yeah, so have a look at the behind here. He's definitely keeping an eye on his rearview mirror right about now, as Muhammad Fatur Rahman under pressure now from Xavier Ku. Fatur Rahman has to take a more defensive line, and Xavier now tries to move in onto the side there. Is he going to be able to hold on to that position though? Not quite. Stays behind Muhammad Fatur Rahman now, but another breaking point is coming up, and it's a very short braking zone here, but it's all four cars still able to come through single file line. And you was talking about Bima Surya catching up to Shazwan, now from Mizal. He's already caught up to him now, going to turn 1, takes the dive straight away here to snatch the lead here from Shazwan. Shazan, can he actually fight back? I don't think so, as he's already clearly behind Bima Surya going into turn number 2.
What a pass there from Bima Surya. He was trying to see whether or not he could fake out Shazan into turn 1 there by forcing him to go a little bit out into the line and then diving straight from the inside. Ooh, Xavier Ku getting punted a little bit by Ayrton Lau to lose that position there. Taking away that position, Neil Harris coming up to seize the opportunity. Xavier Ku down to P7.
Oh man, that was actually his second time, because he got tapped earlier on by Muhammad Fatur Rahman and again by Ayrton Lau, and dropped down a couple positions, and now it's within the clutches of Neil Harris, who is getting into the slipstream zone now. Behind him, going into the fast section though, so it's a bit of a bender, going left and then going right. So Neil Harris is going to have to hang on for dear life and hope that he stays within 2/10 by the time to get onto the back straight here to have another opportunity to go for that fight. But in the same time, Xavier Ku is definitely not feeling too happy about that. Gives a big nudge there to the back of Ayrton Lau, forces him to go wide, and now this time he's the one who's going to get passed by Neil Harris.
Oh, so much contact going on here. It's absolutely amazing to see. And meanwhile, Oscar and Darian are still contending for that P8 spot, but here comes Darian trying to make it up on the outside. Won't be able to clear the exit in time for Oscar to hold on to that position right now. And Darian is really on the clock. You've got less than a lap left in order to make a move.
Yeah, less than a lap. It is right here, as Joshua Mulyono is getting onto the back straight, getting a good gain right now, I think, onto Darian Zufar. Rather staying within touching distance of him going into the hairpin turn, so it could be a crucial one here. As Ayrton Lau also doing the same, tries to outbreak Neil Harris around the outside. He's going to be successful though. Neil Harris still has a good line here, but on the exit though, Ayrton Lau actually catches him here around the outside, but no, here comes Neil Harris blocking him off before the turn to secure his position, but unfortunately a little bit slow there on the brakes, unfortunately for Ayrton Lau, and he spins out completely and drops completely out of this battle.
Yeah, he lost control of the back end there after being, you can see when he was going for that braking contest with Neil Harris, you can see smoke coming out. That means his brakes is probably locked up and they haven't recovered in time for him to really throttle out that corner efficiently. Ends up losing the back end completely, and then that's the end of it. Down to P17 now. Unfortunate for Ayrton Lau, but for the other drivers making their way up the grid, Darren Zufar still trying to go for that P7. Got a minute left on the race clock, but they're already passed. So this is going to be what I think is going to be the last lap of the race here. I have to see if Darren can hold out a position, but here comes Oscar on the inside.
Yeah, trying very hard to get under braking and again trying to stay on that racing line here. Brilliant battle going on here between these two drivers. The winner of race number 1 and the driver who finished not too far behind him, but a little tap on the side there, forcing Oscar to go wide. That might actually open up the door now for Joshua to try to get a run up against Oscar here. And I think for Darian, he's hoping the two of them will fight it out instead so he can be the one to pull ahead. But Oscar is not one to be trifled with yet. Still remains in front, frustratingly, of Joshua Ivan through that whole section. And unfortunately, will force Joshua to stay in P9. In the meantime, timer is running down. Bima Surya already 2.5 seconds ahead of Shajwan Nafwal Mizal, so he's already on track here to go ahead and take the second race, the checkered flag first in the second race. Battle's still going on right now. Joshua Molino finally gets himself ahead this time of Darian Zufar, who lost out in a bit of jostling going into the back straight. Now he's down back into P9, back to where he started. Neil Harris in the meantime getting a little nice outside run up here, or will he get the run up? Not quite. Xavier Ku is still able to stay ahead of him going into the hairpin turn, the all-important section of overtaking here. It's right now, final lap is already called as Bima Surya moves into the final corner, moves ahead here of this two battles going on in the background here. He takes a checkered flag first, does Bima Surya to win race number 2. Shazwan Nava Mizal in second place. Wirasak beats Faturaba to the line as they battle out on the final turn to make him P3 and P4. Xavier Ku stays ahead of Neil Harris. Joshua Ivan Moliono makes it up into 7th place, and Darian Zufar didn't make the gains that he needed here in race number 2 and stays frustratingly in P8. But at the very least, he finishes ahead of Oscar Montien Vichechai in P9. And finally, Dodo Pratistea makes it into P10 for race 2.
Ooh. Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Darian because he just lost that position of Joshua right at the very end. He was on track for P7. Maybe made a mistake or two. Joshua ended up seizing the opportunity. He already made it past Oscar, and now he made it past Darian. So really unfortunate for Darian there, but Bima Surya, class drive from him.
Yeah, Bima Surya certainly has made it a really good race for himself here. Actually broke away from the pack, so to speak. And you compare him to Darian Zufar, who actually started more or less alongside him. Actually ended up taking the race win here instead of Darian. So a handsome amount of points here for the Indonesian driver here. And but also for Shazan, finishing in P2 here does mean that he does indeed, like, again, finishing P10 in that first race here was so important for him because he was in that position now to finish on a podium here for race number 2. And Wirasak, wow, in spite of the fighting between him, Muhammad, as well as Xavier, 3 of them still finishing one behind the other here. Wirasak in P3, Muhammad in 4, and Xavier Ku in P5.
Yeah, Shazan, he might be slightly off the pace for Bima Surya, but he was still fast enough to hold on to that position, kept himself out of trouble, and by God, there was a lot of trouble in the back there. But
Yep.
Aside from that, good drive from him as well. As you mentioned before, finishing in P10 definitely gave him the advantage needed for him to secure a podium finish in race 2. Bima Surya, great drive from him, but this is only the first 2 races of the night. We still got 4 more.
Yeah, they've got 2 more classes, or rather 3 more classes, sorry. The gold, silver, as well as bronze class going to be coming up, and the bronze race actually going to be starting in the next session very soon. But yeah, wow, I mean, already chaotic as it's typically tradition actually for the copper class, given how close the racing is, and the mixture of different skill levels in that category alone. But now we're going to be going on to a much more contended class here, which is going to be the bronze class. We're going to have a little bit of a break actually before we get to talking about that. But man, what a start for GE18, isn't it?
Whew. I mean, honestly, seeing Copper class like this makes me really look forward to what's going to happen in the next two classes. So, yeah, bring it on.
Yep, bring it on indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a short break, but don't go away because the eRacing GP will be right back with more races here. But stay tuned because we're going to be coming right after these messages.
Pewter is about possibilities. It is an idea made real. Crafted with precision. It can make tradition timeless. Pewter evolves. When allowed to be free, it can captivate you. Pewter is our legacy, and we're keeping the legacy alive. Royal Selangor, since 1885.
Welcome back to eRacing GP Global Edition Season 18. This is the kickoff season. We are now going into the bronze class, and that means the car's performance are going to be stepping out a bit, and so will the drivers. We are now in the Spec GT3 class.
Yep, it's the bronze class is going to be coming up next. So again, just like with the copper class, it's going to be two races. One going to be determined by qualifying position. The second going to be determined by finishing order of race one itself. And qualifying is already underway, but let's go ahead and have a recap of what happened last season here for GE17. Ethan Lowe was the runaway winner of this class itself last season, around 120 points to Ngoyong Jin's 94 points. Elliot Stuart Nagel from the US USA actually puts up 73 points on the board, which allows the US to be inside the top 10 when it came to the Nations Cup itself. So we'll see whether or not he'll be able to do the same here, or will he be joining us actually for again for this season opener. But there you have it for the bronze class itself. Now we're going to be jumping into qualifying now. They've already started just about 3 minutes ago now, so we've got about 6.5 minutes still remaining of qualifying here. A lot of front runners are right now using the Ford Mustang here, or rather the two front runners, I should say. Currently, rather the two with the time on the board here are both Mustangs, and they're actually following each other right now onto that back straight.
Yeah, surprisingly, the American GT3 cars are some of the highest performers in this class. We're so used to seeing like the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, the McLarens, and then we have Ford and Chevrolet coming in over, really bucking the trend there of American race cars only be able to go left in a straight line as well. But the GT3 cars, absolutely high performance. You can see it reflects in the qualifying lap times as well. Nicholas Tan currently in the lead, 2:07.9, so about a 5-second gap between them and the Cayman GT4 Cup cars that we had a bit earlier on. So definitely we're going to see a high level of performance. We're going to see them driving Adrian Amit here in the Corvette C7. Yeah, it's going to be a fun ride this time.
Yep, it's going to be a lot faster racing going on here. The GT3s are a heck of a lot faster compared to the GT4s that we saw in the Copper class earlier on. So, but then with the balance of power being very equal amongst all these BCRC GT3 cars, I think the qualifying gaps itself may be just as close as we are seeing from the Copper class itself. In fact, as we are seeing the times tumbling along the order here, it's still separated by what, 1/10 of a second, at most 2/10 of a second between Pratama Aji as well as Randy Goh. So that just goes to show that how important yet again this qualifying is for the season opener of GE18.
Yeah, and as with the Copper class, Bronze class absolutely stacked. There's so many drivers on the track right now, and we're pretty much going to see exactly the same thing we had in the Copper class. Maybe it's a little bit more chaotic. Maybe it'll be even faster. Actually, no, it definitely will be faster. But yeah, definitely looking forward to them. I do love me some GT3s. Probably my favorite class of motorsport, just behind Formula 1.
Yeah, I mean, again, the sounds coming out of these cars is just incredible to experience in person, and hopefully you got a really good representation of what it's like here over on our stream here using Assetto Corsa. But certainly, I think when you're driving behind the wheel of this, you can definitely feel the additional power, you know, especially coming out of corners, especially as you hit really medium to high speed corners. You can feel the amount of grip, the downforce that the GT3 platform is able to provide. We're on board right now with Yash Kayyum, who's currently holding provisional pole by less than a tenth of a second. Oh wait, more than a tenth of a second to Haziq Aslan just behind him. So again, going to be a very important lap here, and he's going to be thankful that at least the Lamborghini is in front to lend him the tow as you get onto the back straight. Haziq Aslan, in the meantime, further ahead, is going to try to battle with Yash Kayyum in the qualifying. Though, ooh, that's again one of the tricky things about qualifying, is that when you're all on track at the same time, if somebody has an out somewhere there, may end up affecting your lap here. But for Haziq Aslan, I think he's unabated at all. Let's see whether or not his delta is good. It's only like 0.3 of a second up compared to his last one here. Can he keep it though as he comes across a line? No, he will not actually take it. Actually, it's going to be Jeremy Yao who actually takes that top spot away from Yash Kayyum instead.
Yeah, breaches the sub 202 mark there. So great drive from him. Yash Kayyum about 300ths of a second. Oh no, about 600ths of a second behind him. Oh, definitely much closer. As with the last class, you can see the top 16 spots are all within a second of one another. So again, qualifying matters so much in terms of massive grids such as this, because even if you're within a second of the top position, you're not guaranteed to be near the top position.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that massive grid, this grid is also huge as well. 37 people in the session at the moment, so just as packed as it was in Copper class earlier on. Jeremy Yao now takes into the pits here, rather comes out of the pits, having teleported into there to do one final lap for this qualifying session. 2 minutes are still remaining on the clock right now, so who will be the one to take it here? Could Yash Kayyum actually improve on his time here to beat Jeremy Yao for pole position? Mohammad Ozair joins the almost sub 202 club here, but just off there by 26 milliseconds here to Yash Qayyum himself. Haziq Aslan stays in the pit for quite a bit. Should be able to pull out within this next half a minute here in order to do one final lap should he decide to do so. Rezwan Shah makes his way ahead of Naufal a fifth there by a tenth of a second, or just over a tenth of a second between the two of them. And with qualifying now starting to come to a close here, anyone else going to be making the move up the order? Naufal Afif does make his move up into P4 now, beating Eric Satria by 0.2 of a second almost in order to make it up into the second row.
Yeah, Eric Satya is still on his next flying lap, so he'll definitely have time to finish up one more lap to see if he can claw back that P3 spot. And then right now, Jeremy Yao in that BMW absolutely blitzing. However, Yash Qayyum comes back around 0.3 up this time on Jeremy Yao. 201.6, almost 7 in that Corvette. Absolutely amazing run as well. And he's got a little bit of tow to help him as well. So it's definitely going to be in a pretty prime spot. Jeremy Yao there on another flying lap. We'll have to see if he can make it up.
Yeah, and speaking about making it out, I think Haziq Aslan is going to stay in the pits for the rest of this because because he's not out long enough here to complete a lap here to kick off his final flying lap. So he's going to be staying in P6 for now. Jeremy Yao, though, he's coming around the final corner, so we'll definitely see him start off his final lap. Mohamed Azari has decided to call it quits here. Naufal Afif still out on track as well. He is going to be able to put in another lap time here, so we'll have to see between these three cars right now who's going to be able to beat Yash's Qayyum. 201.694 is the bar that he has set so far. Can he keep it, or will someone else take it away from him? Now the timer has run out. Qualifying is coming to a close.
Yeah, and so far Naufal Afif, he's on the back straight right now, so he's pretty close to the end. We'll have to see if he can improve on his time. Where is Eric Satria right now? We'll have to see.
Yeah,
he made it past. Yeah,
he made it past.
Sub 202 again. So P2 on the board. Very good run from him at the very end. But Naufal, these two are the ones that are contending with each other. We'll have to see who ends up on the podium and who ends up just behind. Oh, what happened there?
A big hit on the curbs, and that ends the lap here for Naufal Afif. Very unfortunate that it happened right at the very tail end of qualifying here. Yash Qayyum is getting into a bit of traffic. This could be good news, though, for Jeremy Yao, as he's yet to enter into the back straight, and it's already looking like he's up. Oh, actually, it was up by a tenth. Now he's already back flat to almost net zero here, so he's going to have to find some gains in these next couple of sectors as Yash Qayyum comes across the line. Does he improve his time? Not quite, especially after that spill over the curbs just now. He's going to remain in pole position, but only by 0.3 of a second. And Jeremy Yao is the only one right now who could try to fight him for that position as he comes out of the back line here, the back straight. Still having clear air in front of him, but no draft to take here. And he's actually still net zero in his delta right now. He's only got a couple of corners here to try to make any gains whatsoever, but 0.3 of a second may not be enough for him to overtake Eric Satria, much less Yash Qayyum.
Yeah, qualifying is a pretty delicate balancing act. You have to make sure you're staying within clean air, but you also have to make sure that you do have toes, because slipstream matters so much. And Jeremy Yao probably ends up sacking that lap near the end. He knew he wasn't going to make it past, so he's going to have to be satisfied with P3. Still a pretty good spot there for qualifying. Gives you a pretty good start off the line later on. Based on what happened to Naufal earlier on, kind of interesting to see how these cars are going to start attacking the curbs, because if you're the one that ends up in a position like that, next time you go around that same corner, you're going to go wide. You don't want to stay on the curb because you already saw what happened when you're on the curb.
Yeah, I wonder, is it because of like a tight suspension or just a really bad angle that he hit the curbs with that caused him to go two wheels up in the air? That's a very unusual thing to see even in Assetto Corsa itself. So wonder is this going to be playing in the mind of Naufal Afif when he comes around that corner again, but this time under green flag racing. But whatever the case, though, Yash Qayyum with a brilliant final charge was able to raise the bar by nearly 0.3 of a second, improving his time just in time to beat Eric Satria for that pole position. But the two of them will still be starting alongside, and Eric, after having seen the win that his teammate Darren Zufar was able to, same car livery, I should say. Although I think they're both from the M92 team. So it's seeing what Darren is able to do in the first race here. Will Arisacha also be able to follow in his footsteps? But as of right now, a bit of reprieve for our bronze class drivers here as they get themselves set up in terms of strategy here for this next 15-minute sprint that's going to be coming up here. It's going to be absolutely important for them to get the fuel calculations right, because if they carry just a little bit too much fuel, that's going to be extra weight that they do not want to have, especially when they're going to be battling wheel to wheel.
Yeah, and on the flip side, you carry too little, you end up limping towards the line.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen before where they really sort of like underestimated how much fuel they ended up using, and then on the very last lap, like halfway to the last lap, they just lost it. So it's definitely going to be in a position where you have to take things like this into consideration. You didn't have to in the Caymans because they were pretty efficient, and because their spec cars are pretty much all equal in terms of that. GT3 cars are of course going to be different, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit of a tightrope walk between these two extremes, and we're about to get them right onto the grid now. Yash Kayyum going to be starting in front with Eric Satria right behind him. We'll have to see if they'll be able to break away from the pack on the restart.
Yeah, Jeremy Yao is also going to be one to watch out for many seasons now. He's been able to fight amongst the top 10, got a few good podiums actually in previous global editions. Will this be another one here? I mean, he stands a really good chance starting on the top on the second row itself. Haziq Aslan and Rezwan Shah also two to watch out inside of the top 10. Dave Chen and Jordan McNeil ekes it in qualifying here, so they're in a decent position for the start of this race. Mind you, there are 37 drivers also on the same track as themselves, so definitely 37 cars that rather 37 potential sources of problems later on when you get into turn one itself. But I think Yash Kayyum and Eric Sacha will be hoping that their launches are going to be perfect here, and that's going to allow them to stay out of most of the trouble. And they do have the pace, at least in terms of qualifying here, as demonstrated, that they would be able to have a decent race out ahead here. But given that everyone, all the way from, like, let's see, P1 all the way down to P14, 15. So just like with Copper Class, everyone's just separated within a second of each other in qualifying. So the pace is going to be extremely tight, even up in the front end.
Yeah, and contrary to the Copper Class, it's not even going to be... it's going to be even more different because these cars are completely different. BOP will do their best to really balance how the cars perform, but a lot of these cars, just because of the way they're built, they have different characteristics. So it's up to the drivers to be able to really dial in exactly what they want the car to do to give them a good result.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking off the top of my head, my knowledge about the BCRC mod. So, from my understanding, the engines and the weights, mainly the engines of these cars are the same across all the different the mod classes. So whether you're driving Aston Martin or an AMG GT3 or even a Porsche, like, you're basically having the same power to weight ratio effectively. The main difference though is the characteristic of the car. As you've alluded to, the cars are built slightly different. Some has like wider wheelbases, some has shorter wheelbases, and that's reflected actually in the even in this BCRC mod. So they have the same power, which means in terms of straight line, on a drag race between two cars, is pretty much going to be even Stevens for them. But when it comes to getting into and coming out of corners, that's where the main difference is between these cars.
Correct.
So getting a good entry and a good exit, depending on what is advantageous for you, is going to be the key factor here for these drivers to make up positions.
Yeah, so wheelbases, tire widths, it's pretty standard. Aerodynamics is going to be one of the key factors here. The longer cars tend to do better in the straights. The shorter wheelbase cars or the mid-engine cars tend to do much better in the corners. So definitely going to have to see how that pans out for all the drivers. You can see the Corvette, Yash Kayyum there in front with the Mustang right behind him. Lights on the gantry are about to come on in just a sec here. Oh, we're all waiting with bated breath. Here comes the 6 red lights coming on. And lights off. Yash Kayyum doesn't have the best launch there. Eric Satria going to try and make it past. Jeremy Yao getting held up by Yash Kayyum. Ended up losing the 2 positions there. Here comes into turn 1. Yash Kayyum goes in heavy with that entry, but ends up slowing down considerably for the exit. So far, only lost one position, but here comes Jeremy Yao getting tapped on the back. I wonder who that was. Ended up, might have been Hazik Aslan or Ozair. Might have been either one of those two Corvettes that ended up putting Jeremy Yao in the back there. And now he's going to be in a whole world of trouble.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's dropped all the way out of the timing tower here, so we can't quite tell where exactly he is. I couldn't quite see as well who he actually got into contact with. It's a lot of contact between drivers actually going out of turn 1, so a bit more, or rather just as chaotic as we saw with the Copper class itself. Battle still going out here, this time for P13 between Pratama Aji as well as Judiel Nino Gonzalez. Nino is going to lose out the inside here to Pratama Aji, but Pratama takes it a little bit wide on the outside, getting in the exit of the corner. He takes it back against Judiel, who is right now having Fahim to watch out for. He blocks Fahim's Chevrolet just in time, but loses out the track position here to Pratama Aji as Fahim loses control almost on the outside of the track. Pratama Aji now pulling way ahead, 1 whole second ahead of Judiel while they continue on this race. We're coming around towards the back straight now as someone goes way wide here. There was a one of the AMG GT trees was unfortunately dropped down the order here. In the meantime, Adam Hakim inside of the bronze class is getting a good run up here against Pratama Aji. He's going to try to challenge him now for P11. Jordan McNeil in the meantime doing the same as well to Xian Ming Kong, who is running on the Mustang, but it's also a V8 is running inside the AMG GT. So the two V8s now battling into the turn. Xian Kong still has the apex, so he will be able to stay alongside Jordan McNeil, but Jordan's going to try to fight onto the inside of the next turn. Will he be able to do it? Yes, he's already ahead of Xian Kong already as they get onto the main straight.
Oh, here comes Randy Go trying to seize that advantage as well, trying to make it past Xian Ming Kong. Does make the pass happen just before they enter the turn, the first turn of the lap. Xian Ming Kong losing 2 positions, not going to be too happy about that. Trying to see if he can claw it back, but those AMGs are just so good around the corners here. Meanwhile, on the front, Eric Satria still holding off Yash Kayyum about half a second, less than half a second separating those two, but you can see just how squirrely these cars get under acceleration on the corner exits. So definitely a certain degree of car control, a level higher than what it was in the Copper class is needed to keep these beasts under control.
Yeah, with the poor start that Yash Kayyum had here, he's going to have to fight it out against Eric Satria for the track position, but Nafa Afif is already getting on the inside. Bit of a touch between the two of them on a very fast part of Shanghai, but fortunately the two of them are still together, still racing each other now into the next turn here. Yash Kayyum still stays slightly ahead, but Nafa Afif should still have a good exit coming out here. They need to keep the phases just right and keep the racing line tight here. Nafa Afif able to stay on the inside there as Yash Kayyum loses control on the outside, clatters into the side of Nafa Afif, but Nafa it's not even affected at all. Stays in P2. It's meantime, I think that's Slot goes true as well. Trying to fight alongside Yash Kayyum, but now he spun and actually collected Yash Kayyum. As a result, he's dropping down the order. So it's Randy Go as well, who's got severely affected, drops out of the top 15, but Yash Kayyum stays in P7 alongside Xian Kong.
Damn, I think the Corvettes just took each other out there for a split second. It's going to be really awful feeling for the Yash Kayyum. Down to P7 from a P2 potentially there. Now for Afif holding on to that. Oh, there's a bit of a dive coming in. Oh, what was that?
There. Unfortunately, it's the two of them coming to blows here, still spinning around as other cars come all the way through. Xian Ming Kong loses multiple positions. Yash Kayyum still runs in P9, so he managed to avoid some of that contact here. Rather, was still able to survive in spite of the contact.
Oh, this is only the second lap, by the way. Only the second lap. It's absolute pandemonium going on right now. And you can see we're here with Wilson Woon. Again, this is into turn 1. They're forcing Ryan out of the first turn, but slowing down considerably on the exit. Here comes Ryan. He's gone.
Yep, he's gone. He's facing the wrong way around as Wilson Woon as well as Mohammad Razi bin Aziz moves through. Wilson Woon is now clear ahead of the two of them as Randy Go is the one who's trying to push up against Mohammad Razi here. Will not be able to get it on the turn 2 exit, unfortunately. Wow, again, like you said, only 2 laps in and so much chaos already. We lost a whole crop of drivers now coming into this lap outside of the top 10, outside of the top 15, in fact. And oh boy, I just wonder what's going to be happening next here, as we're already seeing Mohammad Ozair getting closer and closer now to Naufal Afif, who, you know, had also a fair share of contact as well, trying to fight his way up into P2, but has successfully stayed in P2 in spite of all the chaos that's happened in the grid behind him.
Yeah, he's basically managed to dodge like 3 or 4 cars completely wiping out, and being in that position is definitely going to be a safe spot for him. About 3.5 seconds down on Eric Satria there, who's basically not even realized anything happened behind. He's straight up looking ahead. He doesn't see anything in his rearview mirror. Having a great race here. Meanwhile, in the back, it's just like fire alarms and just explosions everywhere. But yeah, it's going to be a tough ask for Yash Kaiyun to make it all the way back up there. There's a little bit of damage there. Julian Nino Gonzalez getting pushed aside by another Naufal. Naufal finds his side, but he goes diving in on the inside. Does clip the apex, forces the 2 cars wide. That is Pariwat and Naufal being forced off. And oh my god,
Yes.
absolute chaos.
Absolute chaos.
I love it.
Around the inside, here goes Pariwat, forcing Wilson Woon to take around the outside. Wilson not happy about that, gives a tap to him.
Oh, no.
On the straight. Someone's just fallen off in the back line here, but we're focused on this battle between Wilson as well as Pariwat. Wilson will have the inside going to turn 1, so he's going to try to take that track position first, but may leave him a little bit compromised on the inside as a switchback is in effect here for Pariwat as he takes his Lamborghini, gets around ahead of the LOR car, and stays ahead of him. And turn 2, attack from the back here is going to spin him around. Wilson Woon gets through, Randy Go gets through, and Pariwat still is left stranded here and will only rejoin the race outside of the top 20.
This is like a caster curse of the worst kind. Every person we put the camera on ends up wiping out somehow. Yash Kaiyun there, unable to really capitalize on anything because all the incidents have happened behind him. Meanwhile, Wilson Wu and Randy Go are competing now to get that P13. They were doing pretty well, and then end up all of a sudden they weren't doing very well, and look and see how close a lot of cars on this grid are. Even if you look at the track map there, that train, that green train is absolutely packed together.
Yeah, well, I think Pariwat will be well within his rights to protest that move there from Wilson Woon, because it's a tap from the back that caused him to spin out here. So definitely something that could be controversial if reviewed by the stewards here. In the meantime, Andre Setiawan making a move now. This is actually a fight for P16, and he gets ahead of the Viper, or does he? Sorry, of the AMG GT, or does he though? As Mohammad Reyes was able to cut out in front of him and stays back in P16. As Yash Kaiyun looks like he's going to be making some moves. A bit of a touch on alongside that AMG GT3 of Adam Hakim. Adam had to back out of that there, allowing Yash Kaiyun to move up to P8.
Yeah, it's a brave move, and it definitely paid off for him there. But
Oh, no!
that's Randy Go. He's gone in the 360. Wilson Wood about to do the same thing as well. Ended up turning left to go right, and then all of a sudden they're back all the way back down the pack, which gives all the other cars behind him an opportunity to make it forward. Adrian Amit here in P16, making it past the Janetta of Andre Setiawan. See if he can make it through him at the end of this start-finish straight.
Yeah, all that coming together between Wilson Woon and Randy Go is actually allowed both Andres Setiawan and Adrian Ahmed to be within the cusp of getting onto P15, but they both will have to battle it out against each other. And on top of that, you got Lim Zen Lon just in front of them as well in the Mustang, so that's adding a bit more of a factor here in this chaotic scenario. Xian Kong, in the meantime, has recovered brilliantly back into P17, although still a bit far off from the points at the moment, but great to see that he's back up into a possible good running order here, and hopefully be able to try to make some gains here going into race number 2. In the meantime, Mohammad Alzair continues to chase Naufal Afif, who's managed to stay ahead of him in P2 for the longest of time now, but within the top 10, that's pretty much the only battle to keep an eye on as Adrian Amit continues to keep the pressure going, this time against Zen Lon. Under braking doesn't quite find it there, as Zen Lon's able to hug the inside very tightly there, not exposing any gap at all for Adrian Amit to exploit.
Yeah, and it's there's already a car going off. That is the car of Muhammad. Which one was it?
I think it was
Reyes, Muhammad Reyes. Yeah,
Yeah.
just gone off of the track there, so he's all the way back down, giving opportunity for the other cars to make it through. Adrian Amit in P13 now, Lim Zen Long in P14, Andre Setiawan in P15. So now we have another 3-car battle ongoing here for P12, it looks like. Sorry, for P13. Adrian Amit slowly pulling ahead, but definitely you can't count out the cars behind you, and there is just so much pressure going on behind you. And Adrian Amit, he's one of our youngest drivers, as a matter of fact, so definitely going to be a lot to contend with going in. Lim Zhenlong just tucks into the corner there and then ends up spinning out. He really tried to dive into the apex when he didn't have the right of way there, and then ends up taking himself out. There was another incident that happened. Another 2 cars behind him also ended up spinning out. So this corner is definitely a point of contention for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, especially when you're coming in at speed and you know that like the main straight itself is a prime place here to get some slipstream. You just want to get as close as possible, at least get alongside, just like what Ramon Rice is trying to do against Xian Ming Kong. 2 drivers who are now continuing to battle here for P16. Xian Kong was early on in the top 15 in the running order until an incident caused him to drop all the way down the order. But Xian Kong, unfortunately, still has to tuck it behind it. Fatur Rahman actually gets up alongside Xian Kong. Is now battling him for P17. So Xian Kong's gonna have to pull a bit of defense, but he can't really do much from this position here. All he had to do is all he could do really is try to take the apex first and hope that he comes out ahead of Fatur Rahman, as he does right before our very eyes.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to see if he can make it through that. Any position ahead is going to be a good position, because it does mean that you ended up in a better spot for yourself. You're still out of the reverse grid order, which means you're still going to be starting from the middle of the pack. But at that point, it's sort of like, how do you say this? Maybe just a battle of pride, so to speak. But yeah, Haziq Aslan now up into P2, making it past Naufal Afif. And right now, Muhammad Azer dropping that down to P4, so he's going to hang back a bit. Don't have that much time left. We've only got about 3 minutes left in this race 1 sprint. Haziq Aslan making it through, and Naufal Afif, they're just trading positions there. Oh, here goes.
It spins around
The
that
curse.
very same corner itself. The curse indeed has struck once more. Naufal Afif gets back up into P2. I think there was an incident between him and Ozair because the two of them were getting very close, and I think they came into contact with each other, causing them to get within the clutches of Haziq Aslan, who in his excitement missed out on the penultimate corner, going onto the main straight and spins around. Rejoins the race here in P6. Yash Kayum in the meantime still stuck in P8, has been battling with Pratama Aji for the longest time now, and through into turn 1 and turn 2 he still remains frustratingly half a second behind. Dave Chen this time around may have an opportunity, because I think the suspected incident I had between Naufal Afif and Muhammad Ozair has actually opened up an opportunity now for Dave to fight for a possible podium position.
Yeah, he's quite close there to be head to the back of Muhammad Ozair, so we'll have to see if he managed to make that move. Dave has been relatively keeping himself quiet all the way. All of a sudden, he's up into P4 now, so I haven't really kept track of what he's been doing, but great drive from him so far to make it up to this spot so far. Yash Kayum still stuck in P8, unable to really make any headway. He's going to try and make it past Pratama Aji, but it's going to be a pretty tough ask. They're both in the same car, same spec, so it's going to be all up to a test of driver skill. It's coming into the next corner now. Rizwan Shah is also behind here, Adam Hakimi, and there's a lot of Corvettes on the track right now, and it's going to be something of a point of contention for next time around.
Yeah, I mean, the Corvette's been really exciting to see actually in the ongoing like GT3 championship, so it's no surprise that a lot of drivers decide to choose this particular car. I mean, he has characteristics similar to like the AMG GT, but maybe just that little bit more powerful, at least in the real world version of that car is a little bit more powerful and a newer generation car compared to the AMG GT3. So at least in the hands of these drivers, they're surely making good use of these vehicles, as Pratama Aji now gets a good run up here against Haziq Aslan. Going to try to cut it around the outside, late on the brakes.
Oh, that's
very late on the brakes there for Pratama Aji as he spins around completely, allowing Rizwan Shah to get through, as well as Adam Hakim, who continue on their little battle here. Dave Chen in the meantime managed to cut in front of Muhammad Ozair just off camera here, but Muhammad Ozair is within a position now to try to fight back going into turn 1. Can he retake that position here, retake his position on the podium, as Muhammad Ozair frustratingly will still have to tuck in behind Dave Chen throughout these 2 corners.
Yeah, in these cars especially, Shanghai is a very dangerous track. The 2 long straights there, when you're going alongside your fellow driver and you're in a braking challenge, a brake challenge, you kind of want to go as late as possible, but there's the margin of error for the braking zones are so tight, minute that the moment you feel you brake too late, that's it, you're gone. Contention over. So I know these drivers are definitely getting into the heat of the battle because they're definitely like feeling the tension. They're competing with each other, and sometimes the braking is just there, like, oh shoot, I have to brake.
Yeah. And like that, and that pressure sometimes, like maybe you hit the brake at the right time, but just put the pressure a little bit too much.
Yeah.
End up locking the tires, and it's like that case earlier on, completely spin out at a very important corner. In the meantime, final lap has been called here. Eric Sacha has so far stayed very much out of trouble. 5 seconds in the lead here to Naufa Afif, so he's very much in the clear running here to win this race outright as it comes along the back straight. No other major battles going on here except between Dave Chen and Muhammad Azar, but they still have a second behind each other as Naufa Afif is pulling through. Dave Chen's best hope here is the final 2 corners here, so that means pressure now for Muhammad Azar to make these 2 corners as cleanly as possible to stay ahead of Dave Chen. Eric Sacha now comes around the final corner as Muhammad Azar attempts to get himself alongside Dave Chen. Didn't quite make it out there. Eric Sacha, though, will see that checkered flag first and takes the win for the bronze class. Naufa Afif falls behind him for a brilliant second place finish. Dave Chen makes it on the podium after beating Momo Ozair to the line. Fahim Hatta makes it to the P5. Hazik Aslan makes it P6, and Nash Kayyum finishes P7. In spite of the troubles from the start, still remains in the top 10. Adel Hakim makes it into P9, Rezwan Shah ekes it into P9, and Judiel Nino Gonzalez will take the top 10 slot.
Whew. That was absolutely insane. I thought the copper class was going to be action-packed, and it definitely was. This is definitely a step above. I wasn't sure I was quite prepared for this, as a matter of fact, but I think we're all glad that it happened. And congratulations to Eric Satriada, race 1 winner, absolute class performance, managing to stay pretty much ahead of all the chaos throughout the entirety of the race. Start to finish, he was just ahead and never looked back.
Never looked back indeed, as drivers now taking the checkered flag one after another to end this session. Now, race 1 is officially over here for the bronze class. We'll be moving on to race number 2 with the reverse grid being applied. We'll see how that will shake things up here. I mean, it's still racing extremely close here. I mean, especially for the front of the grid. But that also came with its fair share of chaos here. So I think it's really more about surviving the top 10 here more than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah, you can put it that way. Definitely. I definitely think that there are going to be certain areas that the drivers are starting to realize that I can improve on. Keeping cool under pressure, making sure you don't really make any mistakes, and especially for cars like this where it's so easy for a mistake to really bite back and cost you a lot more than just like a minor setback. You could spin out, you could lose a lot of time, you could basically end up completely out of the race, your car damaged beyond repair. So there's definitely some level of like self-control that you have to exert. You have to make sure that you're paying attention to whatever's going on track, but you also have to pay attention to your car, you pay attention to braking zones and everything like that. Just everything has to be at 100. So you drivers are probably going to take this time before the next race, bit of reprieve, take a deep breath. Again, like I mentioned before in the last class, just reset that mental.
Yeah, just reset, complete reset. I mean, it's a reset for this season of Global Edition anyway here. So you want to be at least both mentally and physically at the top of your game here in order to make the gains that you need to set the tone for the rest of the season itself. And with Eric Satriya having taken the win here, probably in a relatively unexpected fashion, he didn't quite had the time to make it into pole position for the race, but he still took the lead of the race anyway. And conversely, Yash Kayyum lost out quite a bit, which goes to show sometimes, qualifying is important, but the race itself can really throw a curveball or two in your general direction. So as the drivers await the countdown for the next session here, I'd just like to thank you all for joining us here yet again for another season of the Global Edition here for the eRacing GP. We still have 3 more races. They're going to be back-to-back weekend after weekend here from this point onwards. So make sure you guys stay tuned on our social medias as well as stay subscribed to our live streams here, both on Facebook as well as YouTube, so you can go ahead and catch the action and not miss out on it every time we come back up live here. Same time every weekend, every week here on Friday nights is where we run our global editions. So make sure you guys join in together with us for that.
Yeah, I mean, you might not have the same casters, but I can guarantee you'll have fun all the same. It's definitely a treat to watch these racers, and especially with a grid, the driver list as packed as this, it's definitely going to be action no matter which area you look at. Front of the pack, mid pack, back of the pack, you're definitely going to see something.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of things even from that first race for the copper class itself, and bronze class a lot more chaotic battles, actually a lot more coming to blows, I should say, between the two of them. Like, remember I mentioned how the different BCRC cars have slight different characteristics when it comes to corner entries and exit. That's why it's so hard contested between the two those 2 points there, because like on the straight, like blow for blow, pound for pound, you're basically about equal in terms of power and top speed anyway. So it's just more about how you make your way through the corners, whether you're able to maximize the exit or maximize the braking into entry. Those little differences are the ones that really matter in this very class itself.
Okay, we're about to get drivers onto the grid for race 2. This is, of course, going to be a reverse grid order. So Eric Satria now, he's going to be starting somewhere in the middle, closer to the middle. So the same challenges are going to be arising. Can he keep his composure long enough to make it to the front of the pack and make it a double? So for all the other drivers that didn't end up finishing on the podium or even the top 10, this is a chance at redemption. For the ones that did finish in the top podium or the top 10, this is their chance to really prove themselves as faster than the rest. Because that's what you want to be. You want to be faster than the rest. You want to make it to the top. You want to win this entire season. And there are not a lot of chances for you to do so. So definitely going to be something you have to look out for these drivers.
Yeah, and frustratingly for someone like Xian Kong, he's going to be missing out potentially here of the reverse grid here. Same as well for Jeremy Yao, who's actually managed to fight his way back up to the top 23, but frustratingly, he's going to have a lot of work ahead of him if he wants to be able to finish in the points itself for race number 2. He's got lots of drivers in front of him, a lot of fast drivers as well behind him as well. Literally, he's going to be on the same row together with Nicholas Tan, and Xian Kong in the meantime is in P16 as well. So that's going to be another battle that he will have to watch out for on his way up into the top 15. And speaking of that top 15, Adrian Ahmed still did manage to make it there in lucky number 13. On this grid here for the start of this race. Judiel Nino Gonzalez will be taking the front row alongside Rezwan Shah for the start of this race here. So that's as a consequence of the reverse grid order applied to the top 10 after rather based on the results of race number 1 itself. And that also makes a bit of good news actually for Yash Qayyum, who finished in P7. Now we'll be starting in P4 alongside Adam Hakim, so he'll be in a position now to try to fight for the lead again here in race number 2.
Yeah, Yash Qayyum needs to get a better launch this time around, because the race 1 launch was basically the catalyst that sparked the absolute disaster for him in turn 1, and it all pushed all the way back down to P10, P9, around that sort of area. Had to claw his way back up slowly. Did do a pretty good job of it. So now he's starting in 4th place. That launch has to be good. Has to be perfect.
Yeah, so let's have a look at what the scenes look like when you're starting from like what is this going to be? Like, this is P24, so literally the last position here on our timing tower, very far back.
Hey, you say last, but there's still like 12 cars behind.
Last on the timing tower, but
Yeah.
again, like, you just see the amount of cars you have in front of you, the amount of cars you have behind you. You can barely even see the red lights in real life here, although in game you do have a big flashing red light that appears on your screen itself, so you know exactly how to time your start. And timing the start is going to be all important here, especially for Judiel Nino Gonzalez, especially from Rezwan Shah. Two drivers are going to be fighting it out for the lead of the race here in race number 2. Lights on the gantry are getting set up now. This is going to be the tensest part of any race here. The very start of the race itself is on the grid here. Judiel, Rezwan, Adam, and Yash all will be coming in together here as the lights go out. Judiel is still going to be ahead. It's Adam Hakim. I think he may have jump started a little bit, and unfortunately will drop down back here as he backs off on his gas here. Hazik Aslan is going to try to fight around the outside. Will be able to take the position, or will he be able to take the position? Two cars come together here. Massive chaos in the cars clattering each other now going into the turn. Massive contact, massive chaos right now between drivers going through the turn. Well, while turn 1 was chaotic itself, I don't think I've seen chaos like this for this season quite yet.
Turn 4, Yash Qayyum's actual kryptonite, because he just went down from P4 to P12. Got knocked out in turn 3, tried to rejoin in turn 4. Oh, man! Pratama Aji, that is facing the wrong way. Giving Yash Qayyum some time to make it a couple of positions up. Nope, still in P13. Meanwhile, Pratama Aji down in P70. Randy Go, a big beneficiary of that, is now back at P8. Adrian Amir at P7. You see Judiel Nino Gonzalez is still in P1, clearing the pack by about a second, but Adam Hakim is not that far behind. Fahim and Dave are also running up the 5th, and Eric Satria, such a big winner there. Started P10, he's now in P5. Just gained 5 positions like that in the first half of the lap.
Yeah, but no! Two of them actually spun together here. Eric Satcher regains back, but he drops down to 6th position. Pastor's Curse has struck once more. It's Adrian Ahmed and Randy Go who are battling just behind him, move up into P6 and P5 respectively, or will he stay in P6 though, as Eric Satcher takes a position from Randy Go and, well, gets himself back into recovery here, as Yash Qayyum also slowly making his way back up the pack here, is facing a lot of pressure. A 3 wide situation, maybe even 4 wide here, especially Muhammad Rais being in the mix, and he gets the contact. Moves out the way there, and just like the parting of the Red Sea, Yash Qayyum slips his way through into P8.
It went from 4 wide to 1 car in the span of 2 seconds. Absolutely chaotic. That is going to be something of a point of contention for the drivers that were all involved. Not going to be too happy with what just happened there, but closer to the front of the pack, we have Dave Chen fighting against Fahim here, trying to see if he can make it back onto the podium after what he did during the last one. Bit of a love tap coming from the back. 5 Hata goes off, but so does Dave. And basically nothing changed, but the time gap between those two have extended massively there. Dave Chen, biggest loser out of that point, facing almost the wrong way into the gravel trap there, so he lost so much speed. Meanwhile, Adam Hakim actually made it past Judiel Gonzalez here. Judiel not giving up position so quickly. The AMG GT3s are all out in front. Fahim Hatta is going to see if he can close that gap.
Yeah, he's well, he was touching earlier on going into the fast section here in Shanghai. But now Adam Hakim is going to have to tuck in behind obediently and just wait until he gets up to the back straight to hopefully make use of the slipstream here to slingshot his way into another battle with Judiel for the lead of the race. Adrian Ame is another close follower here, this time to Eric Satria, who, in spite of everything, still managed to get back into P5. So good on him to be able to come out of that chaos nearly unscathed. As Fatou Rahman dives on the inside of Muhammad Reyes, gets himself almost ahead, but still has to stay alongside the AMG GT3 though, as to get onto the back straight. And Muhammad Reyes will have a slight advantage in the exit right now, and Fatou Rahman, he's not going to be able to get through quite yet here, as Muhammad Reyes is still able to stay alongside.
They're pulling alongside now. Muhammad Reyes, he feels familiar, been in a position like this before. Theophilus also pulling up alongside him. They're now 3 wide as they're coming out of the back straight. Muhammad Reyes backs off the throttle just a little bit, doesn't want to get involved with what he just did last lap. Fatou Rahman takes advantage of that, dives onto the outside, seizes the corner exit there. Theophilus just behind him, unable to make it past.
Yep, unable to make it pass. And going into turn 1 yet again, let's see if Adam Hakim is going to be able to make any gains on the main straight. Doesn't seem to be the case, though, as Julianino Gonzalez still remains half a second ahead of him going into turn 1. But watch out, Fahim Hatta is catching up to the front runners right now, turning this into a 3-way battle for the lead. Julianino Gonzalez is going to have to pull double duty for defense in order to be able to keep his race lead, and there's still 10 whole minutes to go.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy to me that now we actually have a point of contention here. We basically an actual battle for P1. Eric Satria is going to probably take advantage of these 3 cars battling each other and slowing each other down in order to reclaim that podium spot, even pole position if Hope is willing. But he does have to get past Dave Chen, and those 2 cars are currently 2.5 seconds behind these front runners here. Fahim Hatta seeing an eyeing opportunity, loses it a bit on the exit there, scrubs some speed, but keeps it under control, and he tries to go for another move just in a little bit. They're about to enter the back straight, so he'll be in tow range. We'll have to see if he can make a move at the exit.
Yeah, he's gonna try to creep closer and closer from each breaking point. Look at that, he's already bumper to bumper now with Adam Hakim coming into the back straight. So this is a perfect position now for Hatta. Try to fight for position here. We'll have the slipstream coming off of the AMG in front of him, but he's hoping his Cadillac's top speed will be able to help him to make a move in the penultimate or even the final corner of this race itself. And the Julianino Gonzalez is going to be hoping the two of them continue to fight with each other right now as they go into the turn here, hoping he's going to be able to get into the apex first. Yes, he does get the apex first and tucks himself ahead of Adam Hakim to take second place.
Absolutely great overtake there from Fahim Hatta. Coming up to P2 now, that means Adam Hakim is going to be on the back foot this time around, seeing if he can make that move happen. And now we'll have to see Adam Hakim still holding on to that gap, and another long straight. We'll have to see if he can make a move coming in here. Meanwhile, Julianino Gonzalez still holding on in front, almost clearing about a second from these two. But behind them, Dave Chen slashed that gap from 2.5 seconds to 1.5, basically.
Yeah, so he's trying to close up to the front runners here, as Eric Satra is doing the same as well. Just outside of the top 10, I'm seeing a bit of a battle form here between Tilofias Titan versus Adam Shamim. And also with Mohamed Reyes still in the mix as well. Mohamed Reyes right now is trying to hold off Nafal Faiz behind him, trying to keep him outside of the top 14 for now, as Yash Kayyum and Randy Go coming to blows with each other right now for P7. Yash Kayyum is taking around the outside, but will have the inside going into the next corner here. Randy Go tries to club him off, but will not be able to do so. Has to leave a little bit of space on the inside to allow Yash Kayyum to try to stay alongside, but Randy Go now closes the door on the transition to the next corner, stays ahead of Yash Kayyum for now.
Yeah, Yash Kayyum is absolutely relentless in his aggression, trying to make it past that Fahim Hatta. Meanwhile, close enough to make a move on Julianino Gonzalez here on the outside. Doesn't quite make the pass, but they're right onto the long back straight, and he is in slipstream range. So basically what happened between the in the last lap is about to happen again this time. He's within striking distance here of Julian, and we'll see if he'll be able to make that move as he reaches the end of the straight.
Yeah, Yash Kayyum now battling with Alzair as well onto the straight. He's a lot closer here to Randy Go at the same time. So a bit of a three-way here. Randy Go is going to have to concede a bit of space now to Yash Kayyum around the outside of the next corner coming up. Sorry, on the inside this time goes Yash Kayyum. He cuts in ahead of Randy Go, but will he get it on the switchback though? No, not quite. Randy Go still remains ahead now going into the final turn, and will stay P7 likely, as Mama Ozaya now tries to make a bit of a move here against Yash Kayyum. Couldn't quite keep it together on the exit and the final corner though. Loses a lot of time as a result. Fahim and Hakim in the meantime battling together with Julianino Gonzalez for the front of the race here, and will be able to cut ahead here. Julia just a little bit, but now around the transition point, can he keep ahead though? Julianino Gonzalez left outside on alert here. It's not going to be able to battle him for the track position, as Adam Hakim now gets into an interrupting position here, forcing Judiel to defend against him, conceding the lead here to Fahim Hatta.
Yeah, and more importantly, Dave Chen now also within striking distance, less than half a second separating them. So now we have a 4-car battle for P1 with Eric Satria closing the gap even further, making it a what's a word for 5? Penta?
Penta, yes.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's 5-way battle. Absolutely amazing. About to see, we are almost creeping up to 5 minutes remaining left in the race. So if anyone's going to make a move, they have to make it quick and they have to make it stick.
Yep. Yeah, making it stick is probably going to be the hardest part about it when you don't have the power, the horsepower difference to pull yourself neatly out of an exit here. Dave Chen is looking closer and closer right now to Adam Hakim, who is already, mind you, a little bit wounded after having been passed by Fahim Hatta, and is now on the final step of the podium here. Dave Chen is threatening to make a repeat of race 1 again here, this time against equal machinery here, as both of them are running on that GD3. Eric Satra is also getting himself into the mix now, also but 3/10 of a second behind Dave Chen. Let's see if he's going to get a good slipstream against him in the braking zone. Right now goes the two of them, as they break pretty much at the same time. In the meantime, Fahim Hatta looks like getting challenged there by Judiel around the outside. Didn't quite make the pass though, does the Filipino, as Fahim Hatta continues to run out in front of him through the final corner, stays in the lead of the race for now. Randy Go and Yash Kayyum coming through as well. Ooh, this is looking a lot tighter. This three-way battle here. Mohamed Ozair now gets a good run up out the exit here against Yash Kayyum. Gets alongside the Chevrolet. This is looking very, very testy now going to the first turn. And speaking of that test, Eric Satra is now testing his ability against Dave Chen here. Going to the first turn. Almost had a peek on the inside. Didn't quite make it through. Yash Kayyum and Mohamed Ozair now hit into turn number 2 as number 1 and number 2 here, with Yash Kayyum still ahead of Mohamed Ozair.
Yeah, definitely. And with this current point of contention, Yash Kayyum still managing to hold a pretty good pace as well, despite the damage that he's taken from the start of the race. Still holding on, trying to make a move onto Randy Go here. We'll have to see if he can make it clean as well. You've got about 2 laps left in order to make a move. And right now, Dave Chen also creeping up to the top 3 right now. But Fahim Hatta actually extending the gap between him and Julian Nino Gonzalez by almost a second. So letting these cars battle it out and slowing each other down is definitely the way to go for you if you are Fahim. You want to just pull away from the pack and not have to worry. The cars behind you are going to be battling against each other before they can even get to you.
Yeah, Mohamed Ozair has been threatening to pass Yash Kayyum for quite a bit now. And now that they're closing in onto that back straight, this could be the prime opportunity for him to get some good momentum, especially on the exit of the bank turn, which is where Julian Nino Gonzalez as well as Adam Hakim are on right now. Adam Hakim feels like he's getting the slipstream. Indeed, he is gaining slowly but surely onto Julian Nino Gonzalez's AMG GT3. Tries to have a look on the inside here. There's not a lot of space being left here by Julian Nino Gonzalez as they break hard coming into the turn, but the AMG GT of Adam Hakim is not able to beat the AMG GT of Judiel into the turn, so Judiel still stays ahead. Dave Chen, though, now has an opportunity to fight for the podium. Gets onto the inside on the final turn here, leaving Adam Hakim off on the outside, onto the shoulder of the track itself, and Dave moves up into P3, but his battle is still going on behind him. Adam Hakim now having to defend against Eric Satra here, who is having to defend against Adrian Ahmed, who has found his way up into a P6 position, trying to fight his way into the next turn. Eric Satra has to hang on for dear life through the corner, but Adrian threatens to take him on the inside, but around the next turn, Satra has the advantage. He closes the door.
Oh no!
But gets spun around by Adrian Ahmed.
Oh, that definitely didn't pan out well for Eric Satra. So unfortunate. He was really on a tear there, almost about to make his way past P4, but right now, Dave Chen is the one going to be on the podium this time around. 2 consecutive P3 finishes would be amazing for his position in the standings. But it looks like he wants to go for more as he tries to make it up past Julian Nino Gonzalez. Unable to do so. Loses a bit of speed there, trying to reposition himself for another point of attack. And it might just happen sooner than you think. Dave Chen right now is really panning himself out to be a driver to watch as he comes in on the inside there. Getting his door closed upon by Julian Nino Gonzalez, but keeping his cool. And now Julian's off.
Julian's off, gets into a wheel-to-wheel situation there. Adam Hakim, who unfortunately was just following behind Dave Chen through that, and as unfortunately got in the way of Judiel, who drops all the way down to P10 by the time he rejoins the race. So that's pretty much battle over. Dave Chen, just one fell swoop, has moved up 2 positions now and is just 3 seconds behind Fahim Hatta, 1 second ahead of Adam Hakim.
Yeah, and I was pointing out that Dave Chen really positioned himself as a driver to watch, and we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on him for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, Eric Satra Really unfortunate. Basically spun himself out of the race completely. No longer in the timing towers right now. So really unfortunate. Great first win, but definitely unfortunate for him in race 2. But now it's the chance for the other drivers to redeem themselves. Yash Kayyum now back up into P6. We've got about 30 seconds left on the race timer. If they can cross the finish line in time, they have at least one more lap in order to make some business happen. Pratama Aji here in P11, fighting against Naufal Faiz and still holding on to that lead for the time being. But you want to make it into the top 10. You want to be in that point scoring area. And these two pretty far apart from one another, even further apart from P10.
Yeah, even further apart, but it's still coming to blows as if they're fighting for the lead of the race here, pretty much. It's bouncing and deflecting off of each other now. This time, Naho Fighters will get ahead of Pratama Aji going into turn 2, and pretty much will keep that track position here. Luke Morales is just behind the two of them. Pratama Aji now desperate to try to regain that 11th position, which is a points-paying position, by the way. So they want to get as many points as he can. Under braking, he gets alongside. Couldn't quite get it on the exit.
Oh no!
Expands around. Naufal Faiz, who just has to stay out of the way here. And unfortunately, Pratama Aji couldn't quite keep it together either. He also drops out of the top 11. And, well, that leaves Thiago Pereira to take up that position alongside Nicholas Don.
It's so close to the end as well. You are literally on the last lap. To make a mistake like that at the very end is absolutely devastating. But other drivers now taking advantage of that. We now have Muhammad Azhar P7, and the drivers are now taking over the position that was lost by Pratama Aji. You have Thiago Pereira in P11, Nicholas Tan in P12, Muhammad Reyes somehow surviving that almost in P13. So pretty safe positions for everybody here, but all the way up in front, Fahim Hatta is about to make the last few corners before the start-finish straight. Absolute amazing drive from him so far. Dave Chen, another one. P3 in race 1, P2 in race 2. Great drive.
And another P3 battle going on here between Adri as well as Adam Hakim. He had to go down to braking before the hairpin at the end of the back straight, but this time Adam Hakim has inside going into the turn, forcing Adri to go out wide into the shoulder, but still remains alongside. And the checker flag came out. Fahim Hatta has won the race here. In spite of everything that's happened, Dave Chen moves it up into P2. Adri makes it into P3 ahead of Adam Hakim just in the nick of time. Randy Go makes it P5. Mama Ozai makes it P6. Yash Kayyum finishes P7 yet again for 2 races back-to-back. Shevan Vitarana makes it up into P8. Fato Rahman makes it P9. Julian Nino Gonzalez is probably kicking himself, but at the very least, he has a top 10 finish.
Oh, Adrian Amit. Love that guy. Great driver to watch. I've seen it race for a while now. He's always delivered whenever he has... Whenever he's on point, he's absolutely tearing it up on the track. And that P3 finish at the very end, clearing Adel Hakim by just about 0.05 of a second. Absolutely great for the top 3 there. Congratulations to all of them. What a race. What a couple of races it has been.
Yeah, what an insane turn of events here. I mean, it's been a crazy copper class race, and now the bronze class proving just to be as chaotic here, if not more chaotic than the race we've seen previously. So that leaves only one more race to go after this here. 2 more classes are still yet to contend for their championship start here on this new season of the Global Edition here at eRGP. We just witnessed the end of the bronze class race number 2, and we're going to be waiting to see what the official results will be for that. Make sure you guys stay tuned on the social medias for that official results, as it will be released there once everything has been calculated and tabulated out. Oh, well, been a crazy couple of races, but we still have more racing to go here, ladies and gentlemen. This Friday night is still not over yet. Gold and silver classes are coming up. Damon and I are continuing to bring you guys all of the action here. We're going to be taking a short break, but we'll be right back with more racing action in Global Edition 18. So stick around. We'll be right back after these messages.
Pewter is about possibilities. It is an idea made real. Crafted with precision. It can make tradition timeless. Pewter evolves. When allowed to be free, it can captivate you. Pewter is our legacy, and we're keeping the legacy alive. Royal Selangor, since 1885.
Welcome back to eRacing GP Global Edition Season 18. That was our last ad break, and now we are down to our last set of races for the night. That is, of course, the silver and gold multi-class race.
Yep, it's been a chaotic bronze class race, and surprisingly a very clean, relatively clean copper class race as well. But now we got two classes going to be clashing with each other here. The gold and silver are going to be racing in the same session itself. One's going to be using the LMDH cars, the other's going to be using LMP2 cars. So that's how it's going to be shaping up here. Let's go ahead and look at what happened last season as Chester Lam beats Keith Moore for the win in last season of the Global Edition, and definitely puts a smile on the face of all the Hong Kong sim racing fellows out there here, with Chester Lam being able to claim this victory here for the gold class. Muhammad Azhar from Brunei also not too far behind here, but loses out to Keith Moore only by 30 points. So what will he be doing for the season itself, I wonder?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of familiar drivers here, drivers that I've known around that have been around for a long time, slowly made their way up of the rankings from copper all the way now into silver and gold. And I can tell you for a fact, to all of you watching at home, you want to be part of this, you can do the exact same as well as these drivers right now. As we're on the track for qualifying, we've got about 3 minutes left in the qualifying. And right now, Mohammad Tasbi is in the lead, 150.7 in a BMW hypercar there.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of the Endurance Edition here, Mohammad Hasbi definitely was in the most stressful positions, trying to fight for the overall win in the championship for the Endurance Edition, but just missed out due to some misfortune and circumstances not favoring him in an instance. But circumstances seem to be a lot better for him in terms of holding in that pole position, because Sai Priti Sudhakar is only 0.3 seconds behind, so quite a big margin between himself, Mohammad Hasbi, to Sai at the moment. Cameron James, meanwhile, from all the way from East Malaysia, has made it into the top 3 so far. Still not able to get under the 151s yet. Does improve his time slightly as we come into the last 2 minutes of qualifying here. Cameron's going to stop on the side, teleport to the pits, and hopefully be able to come out to do another lap out there. Previous second place in the standings for the gold class, Keith Moore, makes it only into P4 this time around. Let's see whether or not he'll be able to improve coming into the next one, coming to the next 2 minutes of qualifying here.
Yeah, you can see Keith Moore on your screen right now, tilting his head in order to make the alongside the steering wheel as well. He's in the Ferrari hypercar this time around. Absolute beauty of a car. We saw it during Le Mans. It tore up the track basically, and all of these hypercars, when you talk about GT3s and how almost equal in terms of performance they are, more so with these Le Mans hypercars. The designs may be different, but basically all of them mid-engine, high downforce, power goes all the way to the rear wheels, and actually no, that's not quite true. Some of them are four-wheel drive.
Some of them are, yeah, actually.
Yeah,
Now that you
yeah.
mention it. So, yeah, LMDH, of course, being the hybrid class here, definitely has a little bit more tools at the disposal, especially when it comes to battling, as you also have to manage the battery levels for your ERS. And that's something that the gold class drivers do enjoy. As for the silver class drivers here, having a look at Chong Jin-bin right now, who I suspect is probably the pole position for this class itself. Looks like it's getting a little bit slow right now, trying to get a good run up in the final corner here, trying to keep the tires nice and warm before it gets a start. I was having a look at Sai Priti Sudhakar because he's actually took the lead of the race now by a tenth of a second to Mama Tasbe. This time though, he's facing a bit more traffic in front, whereas Tasbe has a lot more clearer air in front of him, so he may stand a good chance to try and improve on that time. Although as I see the timing as of right now, what his delta is compared to him, though, still 2/10 up so far. So looking good here for Mamba Tasbi, at least at this juncture.
Yeah, definitely. And Mohamed Asbi, one of the more established racers here at eRacing GP, I've seen him perform almost basically miracles, like crawling back from in rainy weather to take pole position in an endurance race. Great driver, absolutely. A lot of these drivers definitely have put themselves in a position where they're relatively well known among the circle. You know them to be able to perform. But when you put all of them together in a melting pot of a race like this, where there's two different classes and two different paces of cars, you really have to sort of expect some level of chaos there. Probably not more than the bronze level. I'm just saying, touch wood right now.
Touch wood right
but
now.
yeah, definitely we're going to have to see these drivers are even faster than the previous two classes.
Whoa, look at that. Okay,
Damn.
so I think like I was looking at the timing monitor just now, and it's like Iman Ryan was looking really nice and testy. It actually makes it up 2/10 of a second faster than Sai Priti Sudhakar to take pole position here just as the qualifying timer runs out here. Sai Priti Sudhakar is still out on track though, still trying to gain on the deltas, comes into still inside the first sector itself, so may still have a chance here to try to retake pole position. Tasbi, in the meantime, already canceled his lap way earlier here, realizing he's not going to be able to improve much on a 150.528. Side City will not actually improve on his time. He concedes that pole position here to Iman Ryan.
Yeah, Iman Ryan, top 3 in last season. Actually, top of the silver class.
Silver
actually.
class,
Yeah,
yeah,
top of the
silver
silver class, and now he's in gold. And immediately he's putting out a statement: "I belong here. Watch me."
Yep, so that makes it the P5 now, P4 for Rajamil Shaukat. So he starts alongside Muhammad Tasbi. Adam Harith will be starting alongside Kanzani Ramdani in the third row. And Cameron James, despite of a brilliant performance in the middle of this qualifying session, only comes here with a 7th position start here. But mind you, he's only 8/10 a second behind Imam Ryan, so not too far away here in terms of that pace. In the meantime, when we talk about the silver class, Chong Jin-bin, it looks like he's going to be the one starting in pole for that one there. Ethan Lowe, who's made his way up into silver class for this season, is starting in P2, I believe. Oh, sorry, no, P4. As Chester Elog starts alongside Chong Jin-bin, and Apisak Chong Kiti Warakul will be starting in this second row of the silver class alongside Ethan Lowe.
Yeah, and honestly, you look at the timing boards right now, it's almost impossible to differentiate between the hypercars and the LMP2 cars. So in terms of multi-class racings, I think this is probably going to be the closest one we have so far, because these cars are just so close in terms of performance. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe an LMP2 car suddenly crawls its way into the top 10. We don't know for sure, but definitely going to be a treat to watch.
Yep, it's going to be a treat indeed, and it's going to be the race to cap off our Friday night itself. This is the final race and the final 2 classes to race here for our kickoff of the Global Edition 18. The new season, a brand new challenge, and a brand new championship up for grabs here with Imam Ryan being in pole position here. Is this going to be now a statement of intent after dominating silver class last season? Can he do it again, this time amongst the gold drivers? We will have to see as the timer continues to tick on here. Drivers are now planning their final fuel loads, planning planning the moves they're going to be making into that first turn, knowing who's going to be starting alongside, in front and behind them as well. Rather, in the case of Eamon Ryan, it's all behind him as he is on pole position here. We'll be starting on the front row, and a brilliant place to start here at Shanghai International Circuit.
Whew, okay. This is the last burst of energy from us because of what happened over the last couple of hours. So definitely saving it all for this particular moment right now.
And save a little bit for race number 2 as well.
Yeah, exactly. We're keeping it in like batches. But yeah, Eamon Ryan, Muhammad Tasbih, and Saib Sudakar going to round out the top 3. Again, launch is going to be absolutely important. When the performance levels goes up, the launch becomes more and more crucial. So if you end up bungling the launch, you're just going to get out-dragged 100% of the time. And into turn 1, definitely going to be a point of contention for all these drivers. You can see some of these hypercar designs look absolutely fantastic. Beautiful machines, as a matter of fact.
It's quite rare to see someone in the Scuderia Glickenhaus actually take pole position, but even Ryan has done that, and actually does it in a Scuderia Glickenhaus that's decked out in Ferrari red as well to boot, complete with the Shell logo on the side as well. Sai Pretty Sudakar is also going to be one to watch out for. It's been fast throughout qualifying here, and it's likely going to be the first one to challenge Eamon Ryan going into that first turn. Muhammad Tasbih is another watch out for, another well-established driver all the way from Singapore. He and his brother competed in the Endurance Edition just not too long ago, but this time it's going to be a shorter sprint. It's going to be more about the action that he's able to provide behind the wheel in the next 15 or so minutes.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to them, seeing how they perform. Oh, okay. Lights on the gantry going to be popping out in just a second. I didn't ask this for the last 2, but what do you have any predictions? Okay, let's be real. I don't want to end up cursing anybody because we've done quite a lot of that over the last couple of races, but I mean,
well,
has to be asked sometime.
From what I hear, the LMP2s are still getting in this particular new update here has been particularly fast. So I think compared to other seasons, we're going to be seeing them to be a lot closer, if not continuously battling our LMDH cars, even going to turn 1 and throughout the entirety of this race. As far as prediction goes, I think Eamon Ryan is going to be set to make a huge splash if he pulls off this start here. I mean, getting the pole position by a clear 0.2 of a second margin to Sai, that is a significant amount here. And to do that in a Scuderia Glickenhaus of all things is an interesting one here. So definitely going to be one to watch out. Muhammad Tasbih is also coming in with a lot of momentum, having done a brilliant season, I should say, for the Endurance Edition just not too long ago. So definitely will be on form coming into this race. And yeah, I mean, pretty much, I think what we see in this front row here could be the main characters, as it were, for the season alone, but that also still depends where they finish in regards to this last race. So lights on the gantry are up now. We're going to be kicking off race number 1 of Global Edition Gold Class and Silver Class. Eamon Ryan and Sai in the front row. Good start for the two of them, or not. No. For Sai, unfortunately, he stalls it on the line here, allowing Muhammad Tasbih now to get alongside Eamon Ryan as they now pile in to the first turn. Muhammad Tasbih actually has the inside going to the turn. Eamon Ryan is hanging around for dear life on the outside. He needs to be able to get the apex on the next turn, but he misses out on it. Muhammad Tasbih will be the one to beat him to that line, takes the lead of the race, and leads the pack of cars through into the turn. In the meantime, with the rack of the grid coming through here, it looks like everything's keeping nice and tidy throughout so far. Cars still coming through, and I don't think any major incidents, just a bit of touching on the side or side fenders, or maybe even just bumper to bumper. In the meantime, Eamon Ryan cuts back in front of Muhammad Tasbih as we cut back to the front of the pack here. Eamon Ryan, who had a not a good start, actually, especially when you compare it to where Sai is, who's right now dropped all the way down to P17. What has happened to the race for the Sri Lankan here?
Yeah, that bog on the launch was absolutely gate deal-breaking for him. It's going to be a tall ask for him to try and see if he can make it to the front of the pack with so many amazing drivers ahead of him. But as you mentioned before, Iman Ray and Muhammad Tasbih and Kazani Ramdani flying out of the gates almost immediately, causing letting us view a spectacle, a masterclass in race starts here. Iman Ray holding on to that lead, Muhammad Tasbih not that far behind. So this is the point in time of the race where you're thinking like, it's okay. Even if he's ahead of me, I can chill out. I can formulate a plan, make a decision, and then execute it in the later half of the race. Meanwhile, Keith Moore here, just making it past Raja Amiro Shaukat, makes it look almost textbook there with an overtake on the outside.
Yeah, he had a lot of momentum already coming off of the back straight itself, so he's able to carry forward that momentum into the turns and it ends up in front of Raja Amiro Shaukat. Alonso Marcus Lacambra is following behind him in the wingless Peugeot, still using the model from years past, although I believe the Peugeot now actually has a rear wing this time around. But for Alonso, doesn't quite care about that. He only cares about getting ahead of Raja Amiro Shaukat, which is getting tantalizingly close to at the moment. Almost bumper to bumper in that instance now. As it comes across, ooh, slides a little bit on exit, loses out a bit of time there. That's put this battle on a bit of a cooler now.
Yeah, meanwhile, front of the pack, Muhammad Tasbih is still eyeing that Iman Rayyan, making sure that he doesn't escape his sights at all. You lose any bit of distance, it's going to be really tough for you to try and claw it back. So staying within touching distance is the one thing that you need to do, and these drivers are definitely going to be able to do so. Meanwhile, Keith Moore is starting to breathe down the neck of Kamzani Randani, another driver that we've talked about before who's absolutely brilliant at racecraft here. So the top 5 right now, almost set in stone. For the time being, there's still less than a second in between every car, and Cameron James and Alonso is also running up. So right now you can see top 10 are basically just within 10 seconds of one another, which is absolutely insanely small gap.
Yeah, in the meantime, when it comes to our silver class, Ethan Lowe is getting a bit of a battle here actually against a gold class driver, because Sai Pretty Sudakar is now moved up into P15 from P17 that we last saw him here. So he's able to make his way past some of these LMP2 cars, which is good news for him, but he's only in the last step of the points paying position here for race number 1. Ethan Lowe in the meantime now having to defend against Mohammad Shazwan Shafiq, who's looking a lot more racier now, getting into this final part of the circuit. Hairpin turn now already done and dusted. He's going to try to get a gain here onto Ethan Lowe. So you have a look on board right now from his perspective as he tries to close in. Ethan Lowe gets a little bit wide on the curb, as does Ethan Lowe as well, but it seems like he lost out a lot of time here. In the meantime, Leo Lung actually having a lunge onto the inside going into turn 1. He's going to be able to move up into P13 ahead of Theran Eranga, and actually makes it nice and tidy as Sai Pretty Sudakar is also getting in on the action as well, trying to take the position from Theran Eranga at the same time. The Indian driver versus a Sri Lankan driver, and it looks like Sai still has to tuck in behind Tehan in this instance.
Yeah, Sai is making a charge there, but it will be just a matter of time before he runs into... Oh! That was Leo Long. Somehow ended up facing the wrong way in the Cadillac there. Unfortunate, but Sai Sudakar takes advantage of that. Does take a little bit of a hit there from actually hitting Leo there, but keeps it nice and tidy, and now he's up in position yet again, up to P13.
Yep, Cameron James now closing the gap again to Alonso Lacambra, trying its very best to stay glued to him, getting onto the back straight to allow himself some slipstreaming action here to close in even more, coming into the final 2 turns of Shanghai and onto a main straight that is going to be very contested, I think, between these 2 drivers. As they come down along, Imran Ryan is very clear in the lead right now, as is Mohammad Tasbih. 2 of them now in a holding pattern, as it were, as smoke coming out under braking here as Cameron James tries to get the run against Alonso. Marcus Lacambra couldn't quite get it on the exit in the penultimate turn. Now can he do it on the final turn though? Don't think so. He's not going to be able to close up the gap any further than that. Stays frustratingly more than half a second away here as we come into turn 1 here with Mohamed Tasbih as well as Iman Ryan. Now he's got Kanzani Ramdani joining in on this battle, making it another 3-way battle for the lead here, Damon.
Yeah, and it's not just these two. You can see just there, Keith Moore behind, closing the gap ever so slightly now, just over a second behind. Although, how it looks on the camera, you probably would have thought otherwise. But cannot count them out because as soon as Kanzani Ramdani gets involved in this 3-way battle for P1, Keith Moore is going to take this opportunity to make it a 4-way battle. And then behind him, Raja Amiro Shaukat will do the same as well. And basically, these 7 cars right now that you're seeing on screen, all the way out to Cameron James, they're all in contention, barring any major incidents. I hope I didn't curse that time.
Well, there's still time yet. 8.5 minutes still remaining of green flag racing out here at Shanghai. Mohamed Tasbih still remains half a second behind of Iman Ryan, as is Cameron James onto Alonso Marcus Lacambra. Apisak Chonkit Warakul still remains behind. Savin also within that half a second. Terran Iranga still facing a challenge right now from Ethan Lowe as he attempts to stay ahead of him throughout. 2 seconds ahead of him, though, is Sai Pritya Sudhakar, who has made his way up into P13, as we've seen on screen earlier on. Still on the charge here to try to recoup some of the lost points from that botched race start that he had. Mohamed Tasbih looking a little bit closer. A bit of smoke coming out here from Iman Ryan as he locks up his fronts, coming through the hairpin turn. This could be an opportunity now for Mohamed Tasbih to put more pressure here onto Iman Ryan as we ride aboard with him here. He's having a brilliant exit now, right on the edge of the curbs here. We'll be able to enjoy the slipstream coming into turn 1.
Yeah, has to be careful with that slipstream though. It could involve end up being dirty air for Tasbih, but he's making it nice and clean. Trying to look around the outside, but Iman Ryan holding strong in the middle of the track, making sure that Tasbih doesn't really have an opportunity to go on the inside or outside there. Holding it strong all the way out into turn 4 as well. Meanwhile, Cameron James is still trying to make a move onto Alonso here. Unable to do so, so the gap between them maintains. Sukan Pino is now just behind Sai Sudhakar, who actually made the pass on him at the start-finish straight. So right now, Sai Sudhakar on a tear, trying to see if he can make it to the top 10. At least P10, so he can start from the front of the grid.
Yep, I think Cameron James and Alonso are now coming to blows with each other. Cameron James now gets himself ahead of Alonso Lacambra and takes the position away from him, moves up into P6. Alonso is still close enough to try to fight him into the next section, though, as a couple of hard-braking zones are coming up, so there's still a chance here for the Filipino to fight against the Borneo driver here.
Yeah, and we're really looking forward to seeing whether or not he'll be able to hold it. Right now, we've got 6 minutes left in race 1. So Cameron James and Alonso have been at each other's throats for the past 4-5-ish minutes. Definitely doesn't feel like it has been that long, but for them, it probably feels like an eternity as well. Because when you're at this point in time, when you're just staring at the side of a driver, you're not making any progress towards the rest of the pack. It starts messing with you a little bit, because then you start seeing cars pop up behind you in the rearview mirror and think, oh, it's going to be a nightmare for me.
Well, Leo Long is trying to get himself closer and closer. This is a battle inside the between a gold class driver, actually 2 gold class drivers, one in a Cadillac, the other in a Ferrari here, as Sai Sudhakar now trying to negotiate his way past a couple more cars. This time he's going to be able to dispatch Apisak to move up into 11th place, so good on him. In the meantime, Cameron James now pulling more than almost a second ahead of Alonso Marcus Lacambra, so this battle is all but done now between the two of them. So more action, though, is starting to heat up amongst the silver class drivers, no less because of the gold class drivers now trying to negotiate their way past, as Francis Alonso Gonzalez gets past Ethan Lowe and is going to be on his way now to try to fight Tehran for track position, although Tehran being in the silver class will probably be giving way to him soon.
Yeah, Tehran holding on to pole position in the silver class is actually going to be a pretty good thing to feel right now, because of course Ethan Lowe is one of the top contenders for this particular class. Meanwhile, Sai Sudhakar here is actually making it past Savir Perpetual. So now he's into P10. So now it begs the question. you have a gap of about 2.5 seconds between the next opponent. Do you try to close the gap and then try to make a pass so you can score higher in the first race, or do you just hold this position and then get pole for the next race and then fix your launch?
Yeah, just to issue a bit of a correction here. I think it's Savin or sorry, no, Chester Elok, who is actually in the lead for the silver class at the moment. That
I see. Yeah, okay,
podium step. For the top 3 position for the silver class itself. So that's the battle is forming here between Terran Iranga as well as Ethan Lowe. Though now with Francis and Angelo Gonzalez between the two of them, that's put the battle on a cooler for now. So Apisak in the meantime also in the running inside the top 3 here is now trying to gain a Savin proper job. This is a battle for a podium for actually on the podium itself. Both side as well as Savin are right now side by side as we are coming into the final corner. I think Savin might have the line here to stay ahead of Apisak, and Apisak unfortunately will have to tuck in behind, not going to be able to make any gains this time here.
Yeah, and thanks for the correction, but it just sort of like brings to mind how close these two classes of cars really are, because it's starting to feel like there's not that much distinction between the two in terms of performance, where like the classes are starting to mix with each other. We can see the top spots are mainly hypercars, and then we have like a couple all of a sudden in contention with these other hypercars as well. So meanwhile, up in front, eMARAYAN and Tasbih still going at it, still within a second of each other. So Tasbih, he's got about 3 minutes left. So he's definitely starting to think like, oh, I have to start attacking right now.
Yeah, Tasbih, I think, like, is just waiting for the final lap to come out here so they can try to make his move. He's been more conserving, I think, or rather just keeping on a pace here to make sure he stays behind Iman going into the final corner. Gets a little bit wide, though, getting into the back straight, so that's going to lose him a little bit of time, but still remains within half a second here to Iman Ryan, so he's in the perfect position to try to fight him going into the final lap here for the race. In the meantime, spins around. Pino gets through, and he continues to get into a battle here with Sabin Prapachov, and this is a battle inside the podium for both of these drivers here as Chester Elo continues to stay 4 seconds ahead of this little scrap going on here. Sucampino, though, unfortunately tucks in behind Savin, but Savin will be lending a little bit of toe. That's probably going to be helpful here for Sukan to try to find a way past going into the hairpin, but he needs to do it under braking, though. So coming into a line here, he tucks in behind Savin, so not going for the dive this time around. He's going to try to wait for that final lap marker to come out here before confirming that he's going to be able to get through.
Whew. Okay, well, unfortunately, that is near the tail end of the race, so it's going to be hard-pressed for you to try and get back into that groove, into the zone, to try and claw back to position. So unfortunately for Apisa, you're going to have to hang back a little bit there. Not doing too bad still, so regardless, it's still going to be a pretty decent finishing position for him in class. Meanwhile, Sai Sudhakar there, after that massive charge from P15 all the way back up to P9, hasn't been able to make any headway since. Didn't make it past Chester A-Lock to make it into P9. So now he has to contend with catching up, which I don't think he will. Of course, we've got a minute left into the race and they're basically on their last lap by now. But Sai Sudhakar going to be in a pretty good spot for him. He's going to end up, I think, is P2 on the grid for him.
Ooh, a bit of side-by-side
actually
going on here. Leo Long as well as Francis are actually both in the same class here, but LMP2 just behind there, almost tucking into the side of Leo Long, them causing a bit of consternation. That's actually Apisha, who's getting into the mix of this little battle here. He's not actually fighting them for the championship though, but these two guys definitely are. As the timer, I think, is going to be cutting it real close. Imran Ryan is now coming around to the final corner now with 18 seconds. I think could be one more lap still ahead of us for now. Sucampino Apishak now actually gets himself ahead of Leo Long here. So that's put his little battle onto a bit of a cooler for now. Imran Ryan comes across the line just in time to kick off the final lap. So one more lap still remains for our silver class drivers who are battling for a position right now for the gold class drivers to see if they can do something in this regard. And unfortunately for Mama Tasbe, he remains frustratingly 1 second behind Emma Ryan, whereas Cameron James may stand a better chance here actually fighting for a position, this time for P5 versus Raja Mirashaukat.
Yeah, Raja Miroshaka, pretty conservative run for him. He's been hanging back and then letting Cameron James catch up to him for a bit. 2 second gap between him and Kanzani Ramdani. So it's a pretty concerted effort to just hold on to this and try to make sure you end up in a good finishing position, because next race is going to be a bit of a tough one. Starting mid-pack is never going to be a easy thing to do, and Cameron James at least wants to finish higher in the points there. Gonna see if he can try and make a move on the last lap. We can see where they are on the map right now, just coming just about into the back straight there, so about half a lap left.
Yeah, and also Kanzani Randani.
Oh, no!
An opportunity, but went way too hard into the back of Keep Mo. That was half a second, and now completely gone. The gap between the two of them as Rajamil Shaukat and Cameron James get closer and closer. Cameron James is literally right against his tail now as he get onto the back straight. Final turns are going to be coming up here. Iman Ryan, though, is in a world of his own right now. 1 whole second clear. Cameron James, in the meantime, chasing hard against Raja Miroshaukat. Will have to cut away to our race leader as he comes around the final lap. But Cameron James is putting a good challenge now to the outside of Raja Miroshaukat. He does keep himself slightly ahead, but no, will not be able to keep himself on the track long enough to stay in front. In the meantime, Iman Ryan comes ahead and takes the checkered flag here against Wamatasbe, who finishes second. Keepball finishes in third. Kazai Randami stays in P4. Raja Mishoka stays barely ahead of Cameron James, to finish in P5 and P6 respectively. Alonso Marcos Lacambra makes it P7. Gerlani Haki makes it up into P8. And Sai Preeti Sudhakar, who started on the front row, finishes in 9th position. In the meantime, for the silver class, Chester Elog has been unopposed here in the lead of this class and will be kicking off this season here in the lead of the standings as well. Sabin Prabhachop makes it up P3 and Sukan Pino makes it P2 and P3 respectively for Sabin and Sukan here for the silver class.
Yeah, and bit of commotion there at the end. So that means that Sai Suka is not going to be starting P1 or P2 because both Leo Long and Francis Gonzalez are behind him. So he's going to be in a relatively rough spot as well. We'll have to see if he makes it through, but starting from the front of the pack does mean you have opportunities to redeem yourselves. That launch really has to be on point this time around. Meanwhile, Iman Rayan, great drive. Start to finish, absolutely uncontested. Well, a little bit contested by Muhammad Tasbih, but he manages to keep cool under pressure and immediately delivering a statement to the gold class after his first race from being promoted.
Yeah, a promotion out from silver class, mind you, so he's in a good position now to lead in the gold class as well. We still have to see later on for race number 2 whether that will come to pass. And I have to say, like, the silver class is looking a lot faster this season, though. Chester being able to finish inside the top 10, very likely he's going to be enjoying a reverse grid start in the front row here, should the top 10 continue to be the ones who get reversed here. So that's going to put a lot of distance between himself and Savin Prapachov, which could make it a very difficult championship battle here for the silver if Savin is not able to make enough, or if Chester still remains ahead of a lot of gold class drivers by the end of race 2.
Yeah, I think that speaks more to the apparent performance difference between these two classes. Almost, as I mentioned before, almost non-existent. Basically, like maybe a second or two per lap, which is such an insanely small difference compared to some of the other multi-class races that we've had before. But it definitely shows to the strength of the drivers in the silver class as well, that they're able to contend with the drivers in the gold class. So big props to them. As we hop into race 2, we're going to see whether or not some of these drivers will be able to sort of like fix any of the errors that they made primarily at the start of the race as well. So definitely things to look out for Muhammad Tasbih and Iman Rayan. They're going to be starting from the back of the pack this time around. We'll see how they handle making it through the pack this time.
Yep, as the drivers now have their session reset, they'll be taking to the grid soon. Still one last check for them in terms of fuel, in terms of strategy here, but I think the strategy pretty much is to make as much places as you can at the start of this race itself, especially given that this is reverse grid. Faster drivers are going to be starting in the middle of the pack. here, so they're going to have a lot of cars to contend with should they want to go have a decent finishing position similar to what they did in race number 1, but they have a lot of contenders, especially in the gold class in this regard. Let's see about Cameron James actually finishing behind Rajamir Shaukat. This time he's starting in front of Rajamir Shaukat, I think, in the reverse grid later on. Alonso Marcus Lacambra going to be starting alongside Gerlani Haki, most likely. So I think still the wild thing is definitely going to be for Chester Elog here, because like as a silver class driver, he's going to be starting up a lot of gold class drivers behind him. If the top 10 is the reverse one here, so he's going to be the one with a massive challenge here, because technically he is in a slower car, maybe by not so much of a margin this season around, but still could be a big factor going into this first lap of racing here.
In previous multi-class races, a lot of these drivers ended up having to contend with back markers a lot of times because of the performance difference. Haven't had any of those issues so far, and yes, Chester Elog will be starting in P1, so it's going to be a bit of a it's going to be a challenge.
It is going to be a challenge, although alongside him is someone who's definitely going to be looking for a much better race start here in race number 2, Sai Priti Sudhakar, who will be on the front row alongside Chester Elog. Gerlani Haki is going to be just behind them, alongside Alonso Marcus Lacambra. Cameron James, as I said, will be starting ahead of Rajamil Shaukat, Kanzani Ramdani, alongside Keith Moore, Mohammad Tasbih, and Iman Ryan rounding up this top 10. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be quite the interesting start to this race here, as we're seeing Chester Elog and Sai just keeping an eye on the gantry, waiting for the lights to turn out here. This is going to be the final race of the night here, ladies and gentlemen, for the Global Edition 18 season opener here. First round in Shanghai International Circuit. We will be back again, remember, next week for the second round of the championship. So make sure you guys don't miss out on that. Make sure you stay subscribed to our social media accounts, and also subscribe to our live streaming channels here in both Facebook as well as YouTube. 30 seconds to the start.
Yeah, always the important strategy when it comes to a race like this: clear the pack. As the camera's going out of focus right now, it's okay. Yeah, so strategy is going to be the same for everyone. Clear the pack. If you're at the front, clear the pack. If you're at the back, maybe just chill a bit. Wait for the front to just, devolve into chaos. But here we go. Lights on the gantry for the final race of the night here. We got about 10 seconds to race start. Lights coming on. 6 red lights. Let's make sure no one jumps to start this time. And races are off. Sai Sudhakar again with the unfortunate launch there. He balked the start yet again. So now being pushed all the way back to P9, exactly where he ended up last race. Meanwhile, Raja Amir Shaukat making his way to the front there. Chester Elog somehow still holding it. He's actually probably going to be closest to clearing the pack right now. Alonso in P2, Kanzani Ramdani back in P3, Raja Amir Shaukat making it up to P4. Muhammad Tasbih in P5 as well. Where is Keith Mo? P7. Sai Sudhakar down to P8, Cameron James in P9. And where is our last race winner?
Our last race winner is where exactly is he? Yeah, that's a good question. I can't quite catch him on the board right now. Did he get into an incident and drop down the order?
Oh, there he is. His P is 17 right now.
P17, Iman Ryan. So he definitely got into a bit of an incident at the start of this race, and that's unfortunately dropped him outside of the points paying position. In the meantime, Priti Sudhakar again misses out on the launch here, and he's unfortunately going to have to fight it out amongst Keith Moore, amongst Cameron James here to try to regain some of these points. But fantastically though, Chester Elog actually got a brilliant start. He launches ahead of the whole pack of gold class cars behind him to remain one whole second ahead of all people, Kanzani Ramdani, who actually made the most amount of gains, I think, amongst the top 5.
Yeah, so now back in P2 from a P4 finish earlier on. He's in a much better spot than he was in the last race. But Raja Amir Shaukat now, He's calm, he's collected, he's collected himself from last race, managing a consistent P5 finish. So now he's back up P4. Kazani Ramdani now making it past Chester Elon. Everyone's locking up their brakes. There goes Tasmi. It goes over braking and a little bit wide there. Kazani Ramdani makes a pass, but it wasn't super clean, as well as everyone else as well. Meanwhile, Rajamir Shaukat is still holding on to that P4 spot. Alonso just ahead of him. Mohammad Tasmi and Rajamir Shaukat basically neck and neck right now. He's got the run out of the start, finish straight, and now he's going to make it past. Will he be able to shut the door on Rajamir Shaukat for turn 1? Looks like he will be able to. Meanwhile, Rajamir Shaukat is just... Ooh, that was a relatively poor entry for him, and now he's just scrubbed off a lot of speed now, down to P8. Sai Sudakar taking advantage of that, up to P6, but goes a bit wide there. We'll see Rajamir Shaukat takes that position. No, he does not. And Cameron James gets the better of him after failing to do so from the last race.
Yeah, so Alonso moves up ahead of Chester Elog as we come back to the battle here.
No.
Between Cameron James and Saipridis Sudakar, slowing down the two of them, allowing Francis Angelo Gonzalez to try to have a run up against Cameron James onto the inside of the next corner, but Cameron closes the door just in the nick of time to stay in that position. Now Momotaspe is looking to try to swallow up the silver class driver to make it up onto P3 overall here on track. Gonzalez gets another hit from the back here from Saipridis Sudakar as he continues to scrap it out for P6.
Yeah, Sai Sudakar trying to make the best of a bad situation there by forcing his way to the front of the pack, doing a pretty good job of it so far. Meanwhile, Rajamir Shaukat trying to see if he can make a move on the inside with the Aston Martin there. He's going to end up on the inside of the back straight, which probably means he doesn't get the best run up out of there. So Sai Sudakar is going to accelerate away from him. Meanwhile, behind him, Galandi Haki is also eyeing a position there from in the Lamborghini. We'll see if he manages to get the toe. Does narrow up a little bit on the exit there, so probably doesn't get as much of a run up, and he's out of the slipstream, so he won't be able to make a move this time around. But if these two cars in the front of him, Sai Sudakar, Rajamir Shaukat, keep battling like this, here comes Galani Haki coming in with a steel chair.
Steel chair indeed as it comes around the final quarter, keeping Saipridis Sudakar under pressure here. He almost had a look on the inside of Rajamil Shaukat, but I guess he must have seen Gerlani Haki coming in hot in his rear view mirrors, so he decided to actually move to defend against him into the next turn. So now coming into turn 1, is he going to be able to close the gap? Not quite. Gerlani Haki is going to be one keeping Sai under pressure right now, while Rajamil Shaukat continues to slip this further and further away. And that Aston Martin Valkyrie is going to try to go around the inside of Francis Gonzalez. Francisco is unfortunately going to have to ride on the curbs there in order to stay alongside Rajamil Shaukat, but Raja, he needs to be able to get the inside of this next corner, but unfortunately a bit of a gap opens up there. Francis is going to try to capitalize on it, but cannot do so on the exit, remains in P7.
Yeah, Rajamir Shaukat, that great drive for him to make up the two positions that he lost earlier there. Now he has to hunt down Cameron James, who got the better of him in the start of this race. Tried to see if he can edge him out again for this second race, but he has to make it through Chester Elof, who is still holding a really respectable 5th place overall in the LMP2 car, surrounded on all sides by hypercars.
Yeah, Momotaspe now starting to put some moves here onto Alonso. Marcus Lacambra coming onto the back straight. He was getting closer and closer in the last lap, and this time is as close as ever now for a possible P2. Just needs to fight Alonso for that position here. In the meantime, behind him, the three-way battle between Francis, Sai, and Gerlandi Haki continues to rage on. Momotaspe tries to get a nice slipstream this time, tries to get around the outside. Under braking is going to try to do it against Alonso. Marcus Lacambra, who does have the inside line, but he still remains outside going into the final turn, and takes the inside line, closes the door onto Alonso, making it a P2. In the meantime, behind him into the final corner as well goes Sai. Pretty Sudakar remaining sandwiched here between Francis as well as Galani Haki. Goes a little bit wide. Galani Haki trying to see if he can keep up with that, but Sai Sudakar does have a lot of momentum coming out of that turn. Francis is going to have to get the space there because Sai is sufficiently alongside. Under braking, Francis loses out, goes completely wide, and through goes Galani Haki, trying to battle with Francis here for P8 and confirms it by the next corner.
What a great sequence of events there. Tasbe with an amazing overtake on Alonso on the outside, and then Sai and Galandi both making it past Francis Gonzalez in the same corner. Great sequence of events coming in from the hypercar drivers here. Meanwhile, back here, Nazmir Aslan, one of the Aslan brothers, in this looks like the LMP2 car, right? Yes.
Yeah, this is it.
So he is in the silver class right now, doing pretty well for himself with alongside Justin Rahul Dev here as well. We haven't really paid that much attention to the silver class cars, but it does look pretty competitive as well. Behind the scenes, these two drivers are contending for P17 overall.
Yeah, I'm just trying to fight the way 17 overall, but I think the silver class is definitely going to be close, if not on the podium itself, as Chester Elok still remains very clear in the lead. I think it's going to be Ethan Lowe, who is in second place potentially here. So, yeah, it's a bit of scrapping going on here. Rajamil Shaukat continues to be pressured again by Sai Priti Sudhakar going into the back straight now as he gets a nice little run up here. Lots of momentum coming his way here off of the draft. Is getting off of the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Tries to go around the outside here. Is he going to be able to do it under braking? No, Raja is also braking hard as well. Takes the apex first. Keeps Sai Priti Sudhakar around the outside, but the next corner is going to have the apex come to Sai Priti Sudhakar a lot faster though. He's going to try to take this opportunity and comes together. Spins out completely. Rajamil Shaukat continues to roll through, as does Chester Elok, and that one move has cost Sai Priti Sudhakar almost everything, if not the points.
It's very hard to determine who was at fault there, because it looked like Shaukat did turn into Sai Sudhakar at the corner exit. But in the end of the thing, at the end of the day, Sai Sudhakar was the biggest loser out of that entire encounter. Drops down to P16 out of the points for the time being. We'll see if he can make his way back up. But meanwhile, Raja Amir Shaukat is now under threat from Galandi Haki.
Yeah, it's a very interesting three-way battle here between four cars, because technically Chester Elong is not involved in this battle as far as the championship is concerned, but Leo, Chester, as well as Iman Raya are definitely in this fight here. Chester Elong now able to slip past, Iman Raya is able to slip past Chester Elong now, allowing him to fully concentrate on his fight against Keith Mo, who's in turn trying to keep the pressure going onto Leo Lung ahead of them in P8.
Yeah, Iman Rayan, he dropped down to P16 earlier, but now he's charging his way back up. He's now in the top 10 again, so nothing less than what is expected of him. Great drive from him so far as a new debutant into this gold class. But he's still got a lot of gaps to make up. We've got about 6 minutes left in the race. We'll see if we can scrounge out a few more positions. Meanwhile, the battle between Francis Gonzalez and Leo Lung is also hotting up. Keith Mo is now part of this battle as well, with Iman Rayan trailing behind them in this train. We'll have to see whether or not Francis Gonzalez can hold on to this lead so far. Here in the long straight right now, all of them are really close together, so they have the slipstream. Iman Rayan coming up to Keith Mo right now. He's going to try and go deep. Feints it. Comes on the outside, see if he makes the braking. Ooh, big lock up there from Leo Long as he tries to make it into the corner. Does do so eventually, but Iman just made up 2 spots right there.
Under braking, and that's a perfect way to make that move indeed here. Iman Ryan 2 places up. Now it's going to be the one to pounce on Francis Angel Gonzalez on the main straight here and potentially into turn 1. Keith Mo in the meantime, not resting on his laurels, is going to try to fight back for position here against Leo Long at the same time. While Iman Ryan's not able to make the lunge into turn 1, he still remains tucked in behind Francis. Keith Mo has to tuck in behind Leo Long going into the second turn though, so it still remains status quo amongst these 4 drivers. And I tell you what, with Chester's lead to the silver class now completely negated thanks to that 3-way battle going on that he got into the mix with amongst the gold class, he's now within or rather I should say Ethan Lowe is now within touching distance of the silver class leader here.
Yeah, so with about 4.5 minutes left in the race, Ethan Lowe will probably feel like he's got plenty of time in order to formulate something. He just needs to pressure him a little bit, force him into making some unforced errors, and then see if he can take advantage of that. Meanwhile, Iman Reyes is doing the same to Francis Angelo Gonzalez here. He's closing the gap ever so slightly. There's definitely going to be a big Scuderia Glickenhaus in the rearview mirror of Francis Gonzalez here. Tries to make it on the inside as it's coming into the back straight. Goes a bit heavy-handed on the brakes. Ends up losing too much speed and going wide. Giving space for the cars behind him, Leo Long and Keith Mo, to catch back up to him. And now they're in the slipstream for the back straight. So we're back to making it a 4-way battle for this position.
Yep, back to square one, or maybe square -1 at this point here. Gim and Ryan being the one ahead of this pack here, at least in this three-way battle. Francis Angel Gonzalez not able to pull away by too much though, so he's technically still in the mix. Although it's going to be Im and Ryan who's going to be keeping a closer eye on his rearview mirror because Leo Long is looking very fast and very testy right now. Im and Ryan now coming into the final corner, actually gets closer to Francis. Angelo Gonzalez now. Oh, he's got a good run up. He's got side-by-side action going on in turn one here.
What a nice exit from Imarian and gives him the speed he needs to make that pass happen now. First turn is a right-hander. Will he be able to do it? Yes, Francis Angelo Gonzalez slows down quite a bit, but he tries to pick up speed on the exit, which means Imarian is probably going still to pull alongside him as they enter turn 3. Imarian does not have the right of way into the apex of turn 4, and as a result of that, that attack still mounted up to nothing, but he was close.
It was very, very close, and it's going to be constant consternation here onto Francis because there's still 3 minutes of racing left. Kanzani Ramdani has been so far very much out of the chaos that's going on behind him. 1 whole second clear of Mama Tasbe, so not really under too much pressure at this point here. So with Tasbe and Cameron James being on the podium here, this is looking like a really good points haul for both of these drivers here across both races. While Imran Ryan continues to bring more moves here against Francis Gonzalez. Still is trying to hook up on the inside here, but Francis does that a little bit faster there. Still remains ahead of him in P7. Leo Long is looking, or rather waiting for an opportunity to appear here should both Imran Ryan and Francis Goya get into blows with each other. But for now, he still stays ahead of Keith Moll.
Yeah, and Imarian still breathing down the neck of Francis Gonzalez. They're on the back straight right now. It does look like they're going to be relatively close to each other as they enter the corner. 0.3 seconds the delta between these two drivers. Meanwhile, here, Sai Sudhakar, again, unfortunately, having to claw his way back to the front of the pack, try and make it into the points. Meanwhile, Imarian goes for a braking challenge with Francis Gonzalez. Oh, does go a bit wide there, but he ends up making the pass happen. It's a left-hander next. He's got the outside. Will Francis go wide? He will, and goes too wide, as a matter of fact. Imarian takes the opportunity, goes in narrow, gets the run-up on the exit of the start-finish straight. They are neck and neck. Exactly the same spot as they were in the last lap as they enter turn 1 right now. Imarian, again, on the outside, has to slow down considerably into the blind turn 1. And Francis Gonzalez, he's thinking, why are we doing the same song and dance again?
History repeats itself, or rather it's rhyming very closely here. Both of these bars, both of these laps here. Keith Moore, though, this time around, he does get ahead of Leo Long, so he moves up into P9, but Leo is going to try to challenge him coming into the outside of this next turn, but Keith does have the defensive position down on lock, but Eamon Ryan gets the run up now against Francis Angelo Gonzalez. They've been battling it out for the last lap, but Eamon Ryan now very clearly ahead, takes a position now up into P7 goes the Indonesian who won it last time around when it came to the silver class.
Yeah, a great drive for Eamon Ryan, again showing us exactly why he belongs in this gold class. Putting on the drive there, coming back from P16 all the way up to P7, making up almost 10 positions. Meanwhile, up in front, Kanzani Ramdani is still holding off Muhammad Tasbih, who's looking for another P2 finish, apparently. 20 seconds left on the clock. Let's see where they are now in terms of the track. It looks like they'll be able to make it to the start-finish straight and have one more lap to see if they can do anything.
Yeah, just cutting it real close. I think in just a matter of seconds here, but I believe, yes, you're right. The final lap will be kicked off now by Kanzani Ramdani and Muhammad Tasbih, who's actually trying to close in the gap just in the nick of time here so they can put a last lap challenge. In the meantime, Adam Harif has just got himself ahead of Leo Long, so Leo has lost 2 positions now into the final lap of this race. With the rest of the gold class drivers now coming through here, Muhammad Tasbih trying to inch himself closer and closer to Kanzani Ramdani. Keith Moore now actually putting a massive effort now to get closer to Francis Gonzalez as they get into turn 1. In the meantime, Ethan Lowe also closing that gap as well to Chester. So there's 3 whole battles now in this final lap for us to keep track of. So no pressure at all, David.
Yeah, definitely. And one of these battles is probably going to be a lot more important than the rest right now. It is, of course, the battle for the silver class P1 between Chester and Ethan. pretty substantial gap between those two drivers actually. So Chester might not even be that worried about right now. He's gonna be pretty happy with that win in silver class. Meanwhile, Sai Sudakar, he's going to try and make his way into the top 10, but there is still quite two cars in front of him, so it's a bit of a tall ask. Meanwhile, Mohamed Tasbih, right now they're entering the back straight. Is he in the slipstream? Will he be able to try to make a move? Let's see.
It still looks a little bit far off between the two of them, but only 2 more corners remain here for Kanzani Ramdani to be able to take the checkered flag first. Mohamed Tasbih is the only one close enough to give him a challenge, and that's going to come in the final 2 corners. Just behind him, Keithmore and Adam Hariva closing onto Francis as well, so we cut to that as soon as they come around that final corner. But in the meantime, Kanzani still remains ahead of Mohamed Tasbih in the penultimate turn. Coming into the final turn now, Tasbih has only one last shot, but he will not take it. Doesn't have the speed differential, decides the caution is the better part of valor. Stays behind Kanzani Ramdani as Kanzani takes the checkered flag first. Mohamed Tasbih in second place. Cameron James in third. Alonso is going to be finishing in fourth, and Rajamil Shawkat in fifth. Gerlandi Haki is falling closely to Raja, just trying to make it there. Keep on Adam Harvey in the meantime, and a little bit of a battle right now as Imran Ryan comes across the line now to take 7th place ahead of Francis Gonzalez. Keep on now goes way wide here compared to Adam Harvey. Has to cut back significantly onto the track, but stays ahead of him into P9 and P10 respectively, as Saizu Kakar had to avoid a bit of contact, but still finishes in P11.
So Tasbih has finished P2 in both races. He's probably going to come out the biggest winner in terms of points. Kanzani Ramdani did win P1, but he got P4 the last race. Rajamir Sarkar got P5 in both races. Very consistent performance for him. Meanwhile, Chester Elog actually holding on to that P1 in-class position there, ahead of Even Lau. 3.5 seconds as a matter of fact. So definitely a good performance for him, as we can see cars just flying right now. Everyone's just, okay, it's done. It's 11 p.m. Let's go to sleep.
Wow. What a crazy turn in events it's been here, Damon. And wow, what a way to kick off the season here for Global Edition. Brilliant racing all around, I gotta say. I mean, again, we're talking about guys who've been competing with each other in this gold and silver class for a while, with the addition of Imran Ryan, who now moves up a class but still remains with the same batch of drivers, funny enough, and has managed to finish a impressive P7 here in race number 2. And hopefully with the race number 1 points coming in as well, we'll be able to put up a good challenge when it comes to the championship. But Kanzani Ramdani is the man of the race here for race number 2, able to keep himself ahead of Mohamed Tasbih. I think Tasbih, with the back-to-back P2 finishes, probably will have a lot of points coming out this weekend alone, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up on the top of the standings once the official results are in. Also, respectable finishing position here for Cameron James as well as Alonso Lacambra, who unfortunately has already disconnected from the server, so I cannot switch to his perspective right now. And as for Chester Elok, again, brilliant to see the driver who made his way up from bronze class to silver class now, and has finally made a splash in the very first couple of races here in the silver class.
Yeah, I think he is P1 in both races for the silver class, so definitely going to be a big jump for him in terms of standings. So great drive to him. And again, gold class is just going to be just very much competitive like this all the time. So definitely going to be interesting to look out for within the next 3 weeks of races. We're going to see whether or not some of these drivers are going to be sticking out for the whole way. They're going to be taking part in all 4 races, or maybe some of them might end up just skipping a race or 2, but being high enough in the points to still make a statement in the standings. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens in the next 3 weeks.
Yep, and 3 weeks back to back, we're going to be bringing you guys more action here for the eRacing GP. This is the brand new season of the Global Edition, the 18th one that we have done so far. And we're going to still continue to count. Hopefully, we'll be seeing a lot more of that racing action into the future. But that is all the racing we're going to be seeing on track here. I don't think we're going to be having anyone to interview at the end of this race. It's a bit of a shame. It would be really nice to actually hear from Kanzani or even Eamon Ryan, but nevertheless, I think they're going to be happy enough with the performance from the season opener itself. So onwards and upwards into round number 2. Any last words you'd like to give here for the broadcast here, Damon?
It's been a while since I've been watching these. I've been busy with a lot of stuff. I got a new job recently, so I haven't really been able to catch up with a lot of stuff. But coming back here into season 18, being part of the first race, I love watching sim racing. It's such great fun.
It's a great fun indeed, and it's a great pleasure to have you alongside here for the kickoff of this journey. So thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. This has been round 1 of GE18 at the ERGP. We'll be back again next week at the same time, same place. Make sure you guys check in on social medias later on, as we will be posting up the official results and the official standings after round number 1. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And that is all from us for now. My name is Victor. Join me here is Damon, and we have been your commentators for this night. And we bid you guys all adieu and enjoy the weekend.